Paul.
I'll be in the first one to the party.
Hmm.
You're looking very St. Patty's.
Thank you.
I said to somebody just recently, that this isn't any longer just St. Patty's Day. It's not just St. Patty's week, it has turned into St.
And
Patty's
he's
month.
mud, yeah.
Kind of like when I can celebrate my birthday.
Yeah, exactly. This is my birthday month, so,
Isn't it?
yeah,
When's your birthday?
26th.
Oh, that's cool. My son's the 30th.
Okay.
My sister was the 28th. She passed years
Oh, I'm
ago.
sorry.
And but yeah, so yeah, Aries, yeah.
Yeah. That's Aries. We're a rare breed.
Better than the Taurus, though.
You know what, they're
Yeah,
very,
bullheaded.
Taurus are great people, they're just stubborn,
Yeah, they are.
but they're great people with hearts of gold.
Right. And my other son is a Gemini, and you don't know if you're getting the evil twin. I think they're-
My stepdaughter's a Gemini and it's hysterical, cause I'm like, okay, who are we today? Yeah.
And my wife, Robin, she's a Leo. And she's got the hair.
Yeah,
and she's all-
Leo's are great too.
No, they're,
Right.
me, I'm a crap.
Oh,
I'm
no.
Cancer.
You know what?
So I kind of walk sideways and I kind of like.
They're really sensitive and they're very, I find they're very in tune to people's,
Is it?
to people's,
You're just
feeling.
checking
Well,
out,
you have to do what you
Yeah.
got.
Coming in, you're making
I
sure.
would.
They're very considerate and sensitive to other people's
Okay.
feelings, I find, every cancer I've ever dealt with. Yeah, yes, I meant to compliment. Hey, buddy.
So, that's all, just to keep that facts and contacts,
Yes.
I think we can. There's so variables that.
Yes.
Resolve.
Hello.
But we think we could get this thing done by Memorial Day, but until we have everything firmed up, until we're gonna do resolution for the engineer.
Yes.
So we have to get it all together, that's our
Yeah.
target.
Right,
It's slip, but we don't.
right, but you know, but even if you just kind of plant like by the end of the school year, it kind of gives us a couple. And still, it's not summer really until the school's out. Yeah, yeah.
But I'd like to set an expectation to the professionals.
This is true.
We gotta get this done.
Okay, that's cool. This is from the last meeting. What's happened here? Just ignore, I can take out that's.
Yeah, just take out your papers. I can't see. I'll take your book.
Definitely have it. First. I gotta think about it.
Good morning, just Wednesday, it's afternoon.
We're in.
Oh,
She was expecting it.
okay, thank
Yes. So I think we're going away from these binders anyways, since we're just gonna use computers, right?
No, I'll just have them handy just in case. You never know, you might want to take a packet or something.
Right, that's fine too. I gotta think about it.
Well,
I'm gonna recycle those.
Okay.
Word doesn't, well, word is getting out, but it's still.
So, again, it's all really good.
Yeah.
Installation.
Do its whole process.
Which is what we said, we wanted, we're going to do that. Yeah.
I think tomorrow's.
I 100% would depend what we've done to date, but.
Well, and you put it out there with the resolution, although it's not finalized, which means we can read it.
Yes, but you go ahead, let's- Yes. Lunch, apple cider vinegar. Oh, God. It's a little schnozzy, it's good.
No, I
Yeah, right.
would like to do, and if you feel like it, I think it has to be just give them all the
And
compliments.
so it's all things people following around the staff. Yes, it's interesting.
I
It's like
will
Elizabeth
physically
Holmes
be
watched that
employed
documentary.
here.
No.
I don't know, I mean, you may just say no need to,
Hey,
yeah.
Yes, how you been, all right? Good to see you. I'm glad to be back. Yeah.
If there's anything significant, I'll ask them to come.
I was kind of out of the loop, you know, being sick and I didn't want to get other people sick. So this was
Good luck. Enjoy your new deal and deal.
Besides that, yeah.
Oh, I don't know, I'm still a little schnozzy. That's all.
Going back to work this morning. Go back to his office and,
Thanks. Oh, my God. the biggest-
My father was hated when he first started. Yeah, I said it's not a nice one. How are you?
It's very.
Thank you.
Descriptive.
The
world travel.
Yeah, we gotta discuss that. Even though we know we could have. I guess it's. Question really is, do we go to computer or just be looking at the channel? Not necessarily. We also said. Typical posting, people don't. Speed brings it.
So good that you're asking, I forwarded it, but. All right, you know, 5 years ago. Right, it could be anything, but right. Okay. Okay. Well, it's probably the same. It's still there.
Just. Said about.
He was available, I think, like Wednesday or Friday.
More definitive location.
Sent this to you. Is this you?
If you want. Okay, well, I did the. I wasn't thinking.
They were sending them. This was the. That's what they were.
I didn't say, but I didn't think.
Which I thought was meaningful because they now have a program that's a free service for people. So I wanted to share that information and also share the state literacy program. So, and then your ID, I don't know, even just information, that was one of the. I know, I just got it. So, yeah, but we could also have them come to be a certain time a day. Some people think they don't do it. But the state of Jersey is a new program that replaces the senior free. So that was, I just thought, you know, so
I wonder if it's worth.
like these.
Maybe not even that.
No.
Contact us, just say, for more information about senior friends. Now this one.
I definitely for these things, especially for the new scat program.
I like it.
I mean,
It's free. Well, they're kind of limited, but I'm trying to get them. They're useful. It's free to customers. It's only people so, but now they want.
these are the vehicles that are sitting on the south side of Maine. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm missing.
On Main Street. At the south end, like,
Based in.
west side.
Because they've changed their parameters.
Yeah, it used to be free, now they want a municipality to pay. Be like 20.
Yeah.
He pays the drivers. It's gonna always cover the drivers.
Good, how you doing?
Tried to today, didn't get you. I texted you, hoping to have a conversation. Hopefully it goes through.
5:30.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Status report.
Mine was right, or I need to chance to look up with someone.
What do you want these minutes to say? No, it's just Steve.
Okay, so can you, because I didn't have the time to.
Yeah.
Give us
Yeah.
5 minutes before the
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay. And just-
Minutes,
okay.
say,
Yeah.
I can go with them too, but now.
Peter, oh, Peter. I was calling him Jim Sharp. So Mr.
I
Sharp.
was parking just now.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I called him Jim Sharp. I think that's the town.
Yeah.
Jim Thorpe, yeah. I think that's what-
5 minutes after?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I can skip it. You know, I can. Oh, no, she's gonna reach out to you. That's why we just- the board meeting time, she's gonna reach out to you.
Oh, so you're, yeah, yeah.
I'm still, if I should just say. That's a great camera, but I didn't see you at. It'll still be kind of related.
Right.
Eric, copy your goal.
You didn't get your book? No. There's a binder for you.
I'll leave a big binder, it's like.
Yeah.
You have to educate everyone else.
Oh, I have it. I have it back, so.
Me too. I don't like it, the time of all this.
Well, no, because
Every high school kid.
I was in the back.
Good. I just took this.
My life, right, and
That's
I-
okay. They'll be fine. You can check this out there. I'll grab one. I'll grab one for you. You need an agenda? I took. That's an agenda.
Shake mine.
Good mine.
I don't need those. What, you want this back up to you?
That's yours. That was yours. I borrowed it today. I took it home by
Thank
mistake.
you.
You're welcome.
Oh, it doesn't have.
Call this meeting to order, pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice is required under the Open Public Meetings Act was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Coast Star, and the New Coaster on December the 19th of 2024. That a copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the borough office and that a copy has been filed with the municipal clerk. As a courtesy to the public, this meeting may be attended via Zoom. If for any reason, the Zoom portion of this meeting fails or is disconnected, the in-person meeting will continue and action can and will be taken, provided that there is an in-person quorum. Mrs. Noble?
Here.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Here.
Mr. Nowicki?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Mayor Guptozzi?
Here. Okay, welcome, everybody. It's good to see you all, and the weather's starting to break for us, so that's a nice addition. We're gonna start the evening with workshops. If you're looking at your agenda, we have 3 workshops planned. One, the recreation center improvements, we will not hold this evening. Just because our engineer, Ben Malik, is still working through some of the details before we can share them with the public. And then we're gonna go just slightly out of order and ask our borough planner, Ms. Jen Beam, to present a workshop on affordable housing. Jennifer, is that good right there? Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I'm not sure how far back you would like me to go, but, as you recall, we kind of started this process last year, the year before, and then stopped it somewhere around mid-year, understanding that the 4th round was gonna start come January 1st, which passed. Legislation was passed last year. In October, the DCA released every municipality's obligation, with the understanding that each municipality had to adopt a resolution by the end of January, either accepting DCA's number or rejecting it, with an analysis to determine what the municipalities felt was their accurate number. That happened. We did all of our filings. The resolution was approved by you, and a declaratory judgment action was filed, I think by Ron Cachero, who was our affordable housing attorney. So that was all done in time and in accordance with the legislation. February was the month where anyone who wanted to challenge or oppose any given municipality's position had to file an objection during the month of February. So we were kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see if anybody was gonna object to our numbers. No objection to Bradley Beach's position was filed, so that just terminated at the end of February. What's been happening now, not having specifically to do with Bradley Beach, is all of those municipalities, of which there were 159, filed challenges to the DCA's number, and they've been frantically working with what they call the program, which is what's administering the affordable housing project this time around, in what they call dispute resolution. Dispute resolution takes the month of February. So as you can imagine, 159 mediation sessions throughout the state happening basically at the same time. We don't have to worry about that because nobody challenged us. So now we're able to start what they call our compliance phase, which is where we evaluate the borough. I mean, we really just did this exercise a year ago. Part of the regulatory requirements and regulations allow municipalities such as Bradley Beach to use what we call a vacant land adjustment. When you don't have tremendous developable land, you provide a court appointed adjudicator who's a planner who basically works for the judge, as well as a representative of Fair Share Housing Center, who's an advocate, an advocacy group for low to moderate income households. And you work through any given municipality and you're able to adjust the number from what was assigned by the DCA to something that, quite frankly, is more manageable. When we did this last year, the number came out to be 13. I anticipate that is going to be consistent this year. What the DCA has assigned us are a couple of different numbers, and I've heard a lot of numbers being bandied about. Present need equals rehabilitation, not new construction, rehab. Our rehab obligation is 64. That is a program that we will enter into with the county that would manage any rehabilitation of households that are low to moderate income. They're given a fixed amount of money, which you will determine as we go through the compliance phase of this. If they stay in the structure for 10 years, it's forgiven as if it was a gift. If they leave within the 10-year period, they have to pay back the money to the trust fund. So that's 64, that's separate. Our new construction obligation has been determined now. It's a lot of fighting about this going on right now, but basically Fair Share evaluated the entire state of New Jersey and calculated out a statewide need. They then allocated that into regions. We are in region 4, which is Monmouth County, Ocean County, Mercer County. So our obligation, what they're saying our obligation is, I don't think all the towns are really 100% agreeing with this, but it is what we have, which is 13,822 affordable housing units throughout the region. And then based upon a formula where there are three factors. One is a non-residential valuation factor, which the DCA evaluated based on assessment data statewide. There's an income factor, not quite sure how that got calculated. And then there's a land capacity factor. All three of those factors are in the form of percentages, and they're averaged to give us an average allocation factor. That average allocation factor is multiplied by the 13,822 number to get us to the 30. It is very important to note that our land capacity factor was 0. So the state recognizes that Bradley Beach has 0 developable land. So anticipating a vacant land adjustment is absolutely what both whoever our court appointed adjudicator will be. I'm assuming it will be Mary Beth Lonigan because she was our adjudicator the last time, but I don't know that for a fact. And I don't know which judge from the program is gonna be assigned to us because they're all retired judges and they're not specifically based on geography. All this has been happening virtually. So we filed in January, we waited out February, and now we're able to start the compliance. Most of the work on the vacant land adjustment, actually all the work on the vacant land adjustment is done because we did it last year. So it's just a matter of figuring out how we can comply with that 13 unit, what they call RDP, realistic development potential. That's the number that comes out of the vacant land adjustment, which I'm anticipating to be 13. The balance of it goes into what they call unmet need. Unmet need has to be addressed through zoning techniques. So there will be a mandatory set aside ordinance across the entire borough, which says if a project is approved at 5 or more units, 20% have to be affordable, if it's approved. So obligation to approve it. There will have to be an evaluation of the GBW zoning, which provides for affordable housing. My guess is that it's going to have to be expanded a little bit, probably to the municipal boundary line, but I'm confident that they will stay along Main Street. We want not going to be pushing into, maybe some of the properties between Main Street and the tracks might wind up getting included in the overlay, but definitely not east into, you know, the single family neighborhoods. But that's all through compliance. That has to be done and approved first by the planning board and then by you by June 30th and submitted back to the program. So we have from now till June to get this done. And I know there's a variety of things that have been discussed at how we would meet the obligation, but nothing has been solidified, but that's kind of where we are. So comparatively, we are in excellent shape statewide. I have no doubt that we'll be able to get all this done and to the state before the June 30th deadline.
Is it okay if we ask some questions? Questions for Ms. Beam?
I have a question.
Go for it, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Of the 159 municipalities that filed challenges, did any of them do it because they thought that their numbers were too low, like because they wanted to
No.
provide more? Okay, just checking.
No.
And then, what was the name of the phase you said we're in now? Like February's done, we're
Compliance.
compliance phase, okay. And, so I think I had asked you this, but just for some clarity, that rehab thing, did you say it's run by the county? Like it's,
The municipality, the county has a program, so most towns in Monmouth County just enter into the county's program, which handles rehabilitation throughout the entire Monmouth County. So we agree to become a participant in that program. You're gonna need to prepare what they call a spending plan, which is based upon a projection of revenue into our trust fund. And then, you know, the minimum in the regs for rehab is 10,000 a unit.
Mhm.
That's a pretty old number, I'm not gonna lie, that was probably in the round one. Most towns project between 25 and 35,000, and this is not to like add it, like put an addition on a house, this is to like fix a roof, fix windows, swap out a hot water heater, something to bring the property into compliance. And they have to be income qualified.
do they have to be out of compliance in some way? Can it be purely aesthetics, like, well, this doesn't look so good, they need new siding or what, but Does that?
I think you could probably get siding included, but you know, just like spiffing up a property is probably not gonna qualify.
Okay, and then I was reading somewhere the state had defined these. Properties for rehab, like they said that these have to be properties that don't have proper plumbing or full kitchen facilities, right? It kind of didn't make sense, because I thought, well, there's no place like that. You know, no place in Bradley Beach that doesn't have full kitchen facilities or like running water and full bathrooms and stuff like that, so. I wasn't sure it applied, I mean, happy to leave the number, but.
Well, what we can do during compliance, and I have seen this in a number of the mediations, that the present need or the rehab number is not being like adjudicated now, just the new construction number. The present need or the rehab, there is a mechanism, it's called a windshield survey, where people will go up and down every street and take notice of properties that could potentially qualify. So a perfect example is I worked for Union Beach as well. Union Beach basically is brand new because the entirety of the borough was destroyed in Sandy. So pretty much every structure in Union Beach is brand new and they have a rehab obligation. So they're gonna do a windshield survey and prove that they don't have this deteriorated housing stock and try to adjust the rehab obligation down from there. And the reason that that's important is that you have to earmark, even if you don't spend it, you have to earmark money for this program. So if you have a lower number, because the reality is, let's say 50%, you're at 32, earmarking money for 32 rehabs versus 64 rehabs is a significant amount of money when you're talking $20,000-$30,000.
And it's over 10 years. Right?
Over 10 years.
Okay,
This
and so-
period goes to 2035.
It's a county program, but it's some of our money, it's a mix.
It's, yes,
Okay, and then I hear you about the windshield survey, but I'm wondering if it makes more sense if we're really looking for substandard housing that's out of compliance with our code, like, shouldn't there be some kind of interaction with the code
they
office?
just call that,
They
that's what it's just called, but they
No, no.
definitely can talk to the code construction and do it that way, absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, Please. so just raising up a bigger level question. You mentioned 159 lawsuits
Yes.
overall in the state. And we're in zone 4. So my question is, if those lawsuits actually go through, wouldn't that potentially affect the redistribution statewide? That could then affect the number?
This is a big dispute happening right now, so this is what happened. 159 challenges to the number were filed. Fair Share Housing Center evaluated all the challenges and determined that if every town was successful in reducing their number to what they say it should be, we were going to be short 13,000 low and moderate income housing units statewide, and there would be some reallocation. What they did do is they only reallocated to the towns that challenged the number, kind of as like a punishment. However, I've been doing this now for a week and a half, which is, it started last Monday at 9 a.m. Every single town that settled, and a lot have settled, have not gotten that reallocation. So I think that even if, and I think it's a very small if, something were to happen, we would get reallocated units, we'd still be at 13 anyway, because we would adjust the number down during the vacant land adjustment. So we would still be in the same position.
And my second question is, we would tag on to the county program theoretically, right? So does the county administer this program? So, they have the workforce to do that, and that goes from the homeowner application to the county?
Comes
Or
through us.
it comes through us, so we
Yeah.
still have to administer that, deed restrictions.
You're gonna have to hire an administrative agent. That's a requirement. They're gonna administer not only the rehab program on the borough's behalf, but any income eligibility criteria, affirmative marketing for the new construction units as well. Make sure the deed restrictions are correct, individuals are placed correctly in the units. If you have, 4 individuals in your family, you don't get placed in a 1-bedroom unit, so they handle that and they coordinate with the county. What the county brings to the table is they have a list of approved vendors, like contractors, that are authorized to do this work. So it's a kind of a combination of your administrative agent and the county program. I will tell you, in a community like this, I don't think you're gonna wind up getting a ton of rehab units, because I don't feel that you have, not a lot of your properties would wind up being income qualified. You know what I mean? It's too valuable. So what I found is you have to plan for it, you have to earmark money for it, but in many instances, maybe you get a handful. Do I think you would get 64? Absolutely not.
So my third question, please, for my last one, you probably have 100, but
That's okay.
the third one would be, so 64 units, just thinking about the money that we would have to have in trust ultimately, to fund this at a minimum. That would be 10,000 a unit, which is the minimum at 64, so $640,000.
So what happens with the spending plan is this. I have to project over the 10-year period, how much money you're gonna take in. And what that's from is from your development fee ordinance, which is any commercial development has to pay 2.5% of their equalized assessed value into the trust fund. Any residential structure is 1.5% of the equalized assessed. And how it works is that, so let's say you put an addition on your home, it's only on the difference in your assessment, does that fee go onto? But then over time, you know, the money accumulates. And then you also have to do an expenditure projection, rehab. You have to do 30% of whatever your balance is, has to be in affordability assistance. Even though to buy down a mortgage here to make it affordable would probably wipe out all the money in one house. And you can allocate up to 20% for administrative fees. So like for me, for Ron, that's court master, or adjudicator now that we are responsible for paying her bills. That comes out of that administrative fee. So we project it, right? So yeah, I try to work with construction to see, okay, how many building permits were pulled for the past couple of years and to project out how much I think, you know, we're gonna bring in, but it is a real guess game. And it's very unusual for a community to not amend that spending plan multiple times. Because if you deviate from, let's say you come up with a very cool idea, Spring Lake bought the old Wells Fargo building, and the downstairs is gonna be a restaurant, and the upstairs is gonna be 3 affordable units. They were able to use money out of the trust fund to pay for half the purchase price, and then the fit out for the residential came out of the trust fund, but we had to go back to the court and get their permission, which they gave. But so it's not uncommon to amend it. It's not like I do it now and you're stuck with it for 10 years. You can amend it at any time.
Thank you so much.
Shannon?
So with regard to the rehabs.
Yeah.
We still have a fair number of rental units within Bradley Beach, not just, you know, homeowners, but homeowners who either rent out secondary structures or multi-unit. So how does the rehab work with that?
Through the county program, there's a rental rehab component and an ownership rehab component. So it's a little bit more cumbersome because the property owner and the tenant both have to be involved. If the property owner is fixing up their structure, the tenants are not involved. But if it's let's say it's a townhouse, that's a rental, and like there needs to be new windows or a new hot water heater in one of the townhouse units in a string, and to be perfectly fair, I don't get involved in the administration, the details and the administration of the rehab program, because it runs through the county, and it's just, there's enough we have to do to, you know, we basically send that over to them and they handle it all.
I mean, in many cases, it could be landlords who have means but are not doing, you know, keeping up.
They would not qualify.
They wouldn't qualify, right? And the other question I have is, I think it was at our last or prior council meeting, we came up with a number of -7 on new. What was that number from?
I have no idea where that number came from. There's no, we can't have negative.
Well, with the credits toward.
You know, I think there was an exercise you might have gone through with Mr. Doherty where you talked.
So they've changed the structure of the bonus from last 3 cycles. You no longer get 2-for-1 credit for rental units. There's different bonus structures. One is proximity to mass transportation. So given the fact that a lot, you know, we're focused on Main Street, you know, you're really close to the train station, I think you would easily qualify. That's a half a credit per unit bonus. So if you were to get 4 units, you would get 6 credits. There's also some Oxford houses that are located here in Bradley, which we were not able to take credit for in prior rounds because they're not licensed by the state, and but the legislation has changed that disposition, and you would get credit per bedroom, and in supportive needs housing, you get a bonus credit per bedroom. So I think, what did we say, there were 12 beds in those 2 homes, so you would get 24 credits plus whatever. So if the number's 13, you would have surplus
for following rounds, so I think it's never, was never a negative, I think it was probably you had X amount of surplus credits that we didn't need for this round that you can carry forward to future rounds.
Related to the Oxford home.
Whichever units they are.
And the meeting, sorry, if
That's
there are
okay.
more questions,
No, go ahead.
meeting that 13, I mean, we still have that obligation, but I think we were in our minds, there's at least agreements or verbal agreements to build some here and some there, right, and get, I mean, so that's how we're
So I
getting.
think like the hard units, I mean, I think the court will be happy that there are some hard units involved in the compliance plan. And then the Oxford units will be the bridge the gap and give us whatever they give us. I think that's how the court will wind up looking at it.
That was one of my questions. I know we're exceeding our requirements and if we could carry it into the next round. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So, Ms. Bream, just a couple more quick questions. You mentioned the 10-year plan we have, and that it can be revised many times, but the deadline for initial submission, June 30th.
Yes.
How does that happen between now and June 30th?
So it gets adopted by your planning board as if it's an element of your master plan. So it has to be noticed 10 days in advance. There is a public hearing before the planning board on the on the compliance plan, the housing element and fair share plan, part of your master plan. It then the endorsement comes from you. And the reason that this is the only element of the master plan that comes to the governing body for any kind of action is because there's that spending plan in there and you're the only one that can authorize the expenditure of money. So it comes to you to say, we agree with the plan, and the spending plan is an appendix in the document, you endorse it, and then it gets submitted. I 100% not sure if it gets submitted specifically to the Mount Laurel judge, which is Judge Jones here, or it goes to the program. I think it's still a little fuzzy because people aren't really 100% sure how this is gonna work, but it gets submitted. And then any builder, developer, whomever, interested party has the summer to take a look and potentially object. You'll have a pretty good idea on how that's gonna look before, because my guess is they'd be at the planning board and at a council meeting, so. And then, once that process is complete and all the documentation has been signed off on, you would wind up getting a judgment of repose. I think that's what it's still called, right? A judgment of repose, you think?
And compliance.
And compliance for a period of 10 years. And then you would be protected and immune from any builder's remedy lawsuit having to do with affordable housing until 2035, when the next round starts, and who knows what that's gonna look like.
Now, you mentioned that we'll have this 10-year plan. You personally will be evaluating our current ordinances and trust balance.
Me, the court adjudicator, and fair share all have to, ultimately, similar to what we were working towards in the last go around, we're working towards a settlement with Fair Share Housing Center on our plan. They still have maintained a seat at the table, basically.
But given that we, at this point in time, have zero funding in our trust, as far as I know, unless somebody paid in last week. How will that impact our 10-year plan? Will you not anticipate, you and the others involved, not anticipate our active participating in rehabilitation work, for example, until such time as we build the funds?
So you don't have to do anything until we get, like, the compliance plan is approved, not just by you, but by the court approves our process. There's a hearing where we have to demonstrate that we're providing a fair opportunity for low to moderate income households in front of the judge. Once they sign off on it, an order is entered. Usually the municipal affordable housing attorney prepares the order, submits it, everyone signs it, and then you have to do something. But we don't have to start rehabbing anything until the plan's approved, because things could change. So right now, because technically, and the reason that June 30th is the deadline, if you recall, the last round started in July. And so this is kind of like the ramp up on an unbelievably aggressive schedule, but you know, you want to have it in by June 30th, so you maintain your immunity while they're reviewing the plan and approving it. Once that gets done and you get your judgment of compliance and repose, you're immune from any lawsuit having to do with affordable housing for 10 years.
So quick question on the mayor's question. So if there's no money in the trust, and all of a sudden we say there's no development, there's no money collected, whatever reason, and here's November, and and we're, you know, in a position where people can start submitting applications. If there's no money, then we can't actually do the program.
So along with endorsing the plan, you're gonna have to approve a resolution with the intent to bond. So until you get money in the fund, if something comes up, you're gonna have to bond for it. I will tell you, as you get money in the trust fund and you move forward, if there's something big you wanna do, you can actually bond against the trust fund. But you have to pass a resolution saying you have an intention to bond in the event of shortfall.
With a projection of, based on history, how much money you could potentially bring in revenue wise.
Right, so for 2025, the spending plan is gonna be for 6 months, right? So from July to the end of the year, and the balance of the years are gonna be full years until 2035, which is gonna be another 6-month period from January to July 1st.
If there are no more questions, I'd like to,
One quickie,
okay.
you said that we have to administer that program, the county rehab program?
We have to have an administrative agent, which
Okay.
is gonna be an outside consultant. You're gonna need to appoint someone in Borough Hall as your municipal housing liaison. They basically direct traffic. They don't really do anything. They just, you call her, you call him, whatever. The administrative agent is the one that works with the physical individuals, the county, all of it. They handle it on your behalf.
Can we use trust fund money to pay that
Yes.
agent?
Yes,
Thank you.
Once we have trust fund money.
I understand.
Uh, I'll take the unusual position right now of making a motion that we open up questions for the public because Ms. Beam will be leaving us, I presume, after the
yeah.
presentation. So, well,
I have-
normally we wait, but a show of hands, are there any questions for Ms. Beam?
Mayor, would you mind if I ask a question?
Please, Matt, 1 second.
So, simple question.
Sure.
How many new affordable units is the Borough of Bradley Beach responsible for building?
So, okay, let me just do some quick math. So the obligation will be 13, but you're eligible for bonus credits up to 25% of that number, which is 4, so you need 9. But that includes the bedrooms, you know, like in the Oxford House, that counts as 1, so,
Right, the conversation that we had.
yeah,
We had a number of 13.
correct,
We talked about 811 Main Street.
correct,
That would be a total of 6
6.
credits.
Mhm.
That would bring the 13 down to 7.
correct,
Then we talked about the Oxford houses, which
Yep.
are 12, which would bring it down to -5. Which means you would have a credit of 5 going forward into 2035.
correct. But you also get bonus credits for the Oxford House
Just-
units,
Simple question.
yeah.
How many new affordable units is the Borough of Bradley Beach responsible for?
I don't really understand what you're asking me. I don't understand the question. What I'm saying is we have a number of 13. You can take 4 bonuses, so you need 9 units in one way or another. If you have Oxford units, that goes against the 9. You have new construction units, goes against the 9. So right now, on the table that we're evaluating, there's proposal for 4 affordable units. The balance will be handled with the Oxford House. But that's today, and that hasn't been decided. So like, I don't understand the number of units, it's 9 units have to be
I
provided.
think Mr. Doherty's kind of counting the Oxford House, the 12 units, and you're not yet counting those.
Yes, I am.
When you count the 9,
Yeah, but also.
He's asking
The ones
new.
that you're counting, they have to actually get built. They're not built yet.
Right,
They
4 have to be
get
built, 4 have to be built. That's the proposal that we have. You don't have to accept that either. I mean, so I don't want to answer the question until we haven't even had a conversation with the governing body 100% on what's gonna go in that plan. We've had preliminary conversations, but the bottom line is the vacant land adjustment is gonna adjust the number down to 13. We're eligible for 4 bonus credits, so 9 is the number, whether it's new construction, Oxford House, whatever, that's the number.
Right.
Okay, I think we have.
now let's open it up to the public.
I'm respectfully, what is it that I'm not answering? Because
I think
can
he's
tell-
asking new,
But it's up to you.
Right,
You don't know
right?
that.
So it's not carved in
You can get
stone.
9 new
Yeah, they
ones.
don't say like half to
No.
be new. So,
We
okay,
have to come up with 9 credits, or
I
9
understand.
units.
that's
one
what
way
I
or the other.
understand. Okay, great.
I know, but you don't necessarily need to come up with 9 new units if you have 12 Oxford units, correct?
That would still be acceptable.
Correct, but I will tell you that there's no way the court is gonna accept us satisfying our 100% of our obligation with just Oxford House. That's why I said the new construction units that are being proposed at 803 Main, that's 4 plus 2 bonuses, that's 6. The Oxford houses will bridge the gap to get to the 13 plus. Plus you get bonus credits on them as well, so the number is gonna be higher than 13. We're gonna have a number of credits to carry forward to the next round.
Which is, I think is where you were, Matt, surplus credits. At the end of the day, we should be in a position that we've met our obligation. Questions from the audience? Was their hand in the back? Yes. Oh, Mr. Curtis.
I'll begin with, what happened to the 53 units in round 3 that Bradley Beach did not do?
So that would go into our, it would be lumped with the 30 new construction units. I'm not sure the number's 53, but I'll assume it is. It gets lumped with the 30 and then gets adjusted down to 13. That's what happens to them. So it goes into the unmet need, which is
And
gonna be
we're
captured.
adjusting it, or you've got an agreement for fair share housing and DCA to agree to that?
So we did this last year before we withdrew from the process, and DCA and Fair Share agreed with it.
The 13,
Yes.
if we owe from round 3.
That's not out from round 3. That's our obligation now. Our unmet need will be bigger, so the starting number will be higher. It'll probably be, if 53 was a number, it's 83, adjusted down to 13, and the balance will be captured as unmet need with the zoning that I described.
And the unmet need is 30.
The unmet need is 30 minus 13, or if you have the prior round credits, quite frankly, we would probably have to add round 2 credits in there as well, because we have never done anything here. That goes in our starting point, it gets adjusted to 13, that's our obligation now. The balance of it cumulatively becomes the unmet need and it's satisfied by the zoning.
My understanding is you have to have an agreement with Oxford House that they're gonna do this for 10 years. Do we have that agreement?
Not yet, because we just got through the initial, that's why it's still speculative, because we just got through the initial filing, waiting to see if a challenge, and now we're on to compliance.
And this town has never done an assessment to know whether they have any rehabilitation housing units at all or not.
Not
I
to my knowledge.
understand that this town is totally lax in understanding that, and no one knows whether there are any elderly people who live in this town, have lived in it for 50 years, and have a unit that could comply with that, but we've asked the question of this town, and they don't know the answer to that question, because the code officer and everybody else doesn't know even how to answer that question, just so you're aware of that, we're aware of that.
And following up on that comment, you mentioned earlier about the drive-by.
Windshield survey.
So how, is that common? Do most towns have a thorough inventory?
I haven't seen it done until now. Until this round, I've seen towns that really want one, but I haven't seen it done in the past.
And if we were to undertake that kind of a process, as Mr. Weber said, beyond just the drive-by kind of process, that'd have to be done through our code enforcement. Is that correct?
I mean, I would appreciate code enforcement going out with one of my guys, because they, on behalf of the town, have the authority to do so. That would probably be a good idea.
Okay, great, thank you. Other questions? Rick,
I don't understand this code enforcement issue. Because a year or so ago, someone called me up and they said, we either have to come into your house, or you have to pull up a link on your phone and you have to walk through your house with your phone. So somebody was in everybody's house for tax purposes.
That's assessment, you're right, but that's assessment and it's different.
I know it's different, but in some cases. The images, the video, what's there, and not, it exists. Maybe for a different purpose, but it exists.
I'm guessing that, well, first of all, just so everybody knows, a fifth of the houses, 20% of the houses get actually a visual inspection, either the way, somebody comes and walks through, or the way you describe it, the video, every year, and that's so we have a fair tax assessment, so in 5 years, everybody's physically been visited for proper assessment reasons, but I would imagine that what you just said is true. If it was, they gathered that information for this reason, they can't hand it over to the code department to see if your house is deficient for some substandard housing kind of reason. I would imagine not.
I would venture to guess you're correct, but I don't know.
You know, I would also suggest, there's some people who are very prideful and maybe don't want people to be looking and being identified. So that's a barrier, but I think part of our compliance plan, correct me if I'm wrong, will be, how do we promote this? How do we communicate this to the community? Which will then help people be aware of the program, which will then solicit people to come forward and look to apply. So that will be part of our compliance program. correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you.
Let's take a couple more questions. Mr. Cohen, did you still have a
Sure, I
question?
just had a couple quick- So, if the overlay zones are done in the BOR at the north end of town and the OP at the south end of town, that creates the reasonable opportunity to get us to cover the unmet need.
Plus the mandatory set aside ordinance.
Yes, which is the 20%.
And you also, you already have the GBW, which is gonna have to be looked at as well.
Perfect, and that'll be done by the land use board?
It will start with us, it will get sent to Fair Share and the court adjudicator for their review and comment. And then will come back to us, they would then, it would go into the housing element as a draft. Implementation of all those things would be done after the 30th deadline.
Perfect, and then based on the timeline of the June 30th, what should the land use board be looking at in terms of having their meeting, or do they have to wait for the council first?
No, so I would advise that the first meeting in June. Either the whole meeting or a good chunk of the meeting be dedicated to the housing element fair share plan. That way, if for whatever reason we have to carry it, we have another meeting in June before the deadline. Keeping in mind, it has to go back to them before the 30th. I think the document has to be done before Memorial Day, in order to do the noticing, get everything done. Be able to get to the planning board or land use board, my apologies, and back to the governing body so that it gets submitted on the 30th. If it doesn't get submitted on time, we are stripped of immunity, so.
So should we even do it in May then, if we can?
I mean, I think we probably can, because if we don't have any people objecting, we just have to wait for the program to focus on those towns that didn't challenge, to give us an adjudicator, because we haven't been assigned one yet. So, because they're focused on the legal challenges right now. So we can start putting everything together, but we would need for them to. You want a very strong, reasonable assumption that they're in agreement with everything before we do the public hearing.
Okay, great, just one last question. In round one, where regional contributions were accepted from Wall Township, I mean, as I recall, that was fairly publicized to the Bradley Beach community. And people did get roofs and siding and thing that, so is that something we could do then, just promote it?
Yes.
Internally?
Absolutely.
Okay,
You put it on the website, whatever. I don't know how you notify people of things, put a blast, we could have. Maybe if you have a workshop in your land use board, we could have a minute to talk about it and get the word out, for sure.
thanks so much.
Ms. Duffy?
What's the minimum size of each unit that possibly could be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and square feet?
It's typically a 1 bedroom is like 650, 700 square feet. A 2 bedroom is around 1,000, 1,100 square feet. The 3 bedroom is closer to 13.
So what amount of bedrooms are?
So the UHAC, which is the Uniform Construction Controls, they say any affordable development. No more than 20% of the units can be 1 bedroom. So if it's like 20% is 1.4, 1, because 2 would be in excess of the 20%. No less than 20% can be 3s. So you have to have some 3s, and the balance are typically 2s. So it depends on the number of units and how the bedroom distribution, and that's only for the affordable. There's no regulatory requirement dictating the bedroom distribution for the market rate units.
Yes.
I understand that if the landlord is of means, they don't qualify for the program to fix up their property. What, is there something else that will encourage a landlord of means to fix up their property if their property is not in good condition?
I mean, the fact that they're gonna get free money if they stay on the property for 10 years, they could get a $25,000, $30,000 loan to fix up their property and not have to pay back. That's an incentive. If you stay on the property for 10 years, the loan is forgiven, so you don't have to
The
pay.
owner stays, not the tenant.
Whoever is a participant in the rehab has to occupy the unit for 10 years or longer to get forgiven the money.
The tenant has to stay in the unit. not-
We'll take one more question, Beth Kepler.
Early in your comments, you mentioned that you had pulled the permits to review for the purpose of your evaluation, like construction permits, and things like that. What was it that you mentioned about permits at the very beginning of your?
I'm not sure. We don't pull any construction permits at all. Has nothing to do with that.
There's no.
We basically do
I think maybe you're referring to what you would do would be with the construction office, see, to figure out money going into the trust
deteriorated
fund.
housing structure.
So you would, that, or look at, what has
Oh,
come in
yes,
terms of
yeah.
construction permits to determine to project forward what kind of money's gonna go into the fund in the future, because
Yes.
we're gonna need to.
Based on
guesstimate that.
what, like.
So I would say for the past 5 years, how many building permits have been pulled? What's the average value of the improvements? So we could guesstimate what 1.5 would be, and then, use that as because, a lot of times you just throw dollars in there and they really want to look for some kind of justification on why we think we're gonna get $250,000 in the fund a year.
Mhm.
We have to have some basis, so we do that as a check to just make sure we're not over projecting.
The permits that have been granted over the last several
I-
years, as
How
jumping
many
off
per year? Because it's a yearly projection, and then get a general sense of the value. And then we can project if it's an average value increase of 100,000 and you have 10 average per year, that's a good basis to project the number.
Because I
That's,
was trying to do the same thing. I was looking into, like, prior to the current administration, why we hadn't set up the trust and started to collect the fees, over the last, since 2017. And I was trying to determine how much money should we have in our account based on
I see.
retroactively, and I was told that I had to give specific addresses, that it was not possible to determine, what, how many new build permits were issued, and so that's why, that was my purpose, but thank you for clarifying.
that has not been my experience where I've needed to provide specific addresses. That has not been my experience.
Okay, thank you for your clarification.
All right, we broke a lot of our rules to make, this was a very important presentation. We wanted to give everyone a chance to hear, ask questions. We do need to move on. Ms. Beam, thank you very much
You're welcome.
for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And we will make sure to ask Ms. Beam to join us again in the near future to provide us with updates as we go forward. The other workshop we had planned is a really short one that I will lead, but it's references fallen heroes eligibility criteria. And specifically, as you all know, we have a World War I monument, the obelisk at Riley Park. 7 war heroes died in combat, names on that monument. We have another 11 on our World War II monument, which is over near the rec center, ball fields there. And we also have one person who died in Vietnam. So we have a total of 19 recognized fallen heroes already in Bradley Beach. But the question was posed a while ago, what criteria do we use? Because there could be an individual, for example, who moves to Bradley Beach tomorrow and becomes a resident tomorrow, who 20 years ago lost a son or a daughter in the war. Would that person who died be eligible for Bradley Beach War Memorials? I think most people would say no. There wasn't a connection to Bradley, at least at that time. So I've done a little bit of research working with the gentleman that we introduced a meeting or two ago, Bill Duffy or William Duffy. And what I wanted to share with the council and then get feedback from our residents is potential criteria that we could use going forward as to whether or not to recognize someone as a Bradley Beach fallen hero. And I think this is important because, obviously we all understand the significance of Memorial Day and recognizing men and women who gave their lives in defense of our country. But it is an important issue to differentiate. Is it a Bradley Beach fallen hero in particular, someone who we should recognize? The criteria I put together and wanted to share with everybody are as follows: that this potential honoree was a verifiable current or previous resident of Bradley Beach,
or that this potential honoree had parents who were verifiable residents of Bradley Beach at the time of the potential honoree's death. That this potential honoree participated as a Bradley Beach community member over a sustained period of time. And sustained period of time is critical there because a member could be a volunteer fire person, a lifeguard, but who was part of the fabric of Bradley Beach for a sustainable period, not for, say, a year as a lifeguard, but multiple years. Must have served honorably in the U.S. Armed Forces, for example, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, U.S. Space Force. Must have received the official designation as died in service in an official U.S. designated combat zone. And finally, that the cause of death reported as killed in action, missing in action, died of wounds, died of injuries, or died non-battle, e.g. sickness, homicide, suicide, accident in that designated combat zone. Now, I didn't actually, as you can guess, I did not create this from scratch. I've taken this from bits and pieces of what other municipalities use, what other organizations use to identify fallen hero individuals. So I served that up at least for the council to react initially. Is this a worthwhile endeavor? If so, are these appropriate criteria? Are there others you want to suggest? Because I do think Bradley Beach should formalize, I'll call it a standard of measure that we could use consistently now and in the future.
Yeah, Al,
Any thoughts?
Just a quick comment. I agree that we should have some criteria because otherwise, nobody understands, how do you get that recognition? My only comment or question would be, is the combat zone, that's I forget the term you used. And what if there was what's the importance of that? Because what if somebody was a National Guard, it wasn't a combat zone, but in the line of duty, lost their life? Would that qualify? And so, I think, that's my only question, is that maybe it wasn't an official war, but maybe it was in service that they lost their life. And the National Guard is deployed domestically, and that could in fact happen in today's society.
Great point. Yep.
And Al, it sounds like what you just read was more broad than maybe Bill Duffy's definition. Is that fair?
Bill Duffy's definition specifically was the more technical aspects, for example, the definition of a designated combat zone. Where I borrowed from others were in reference to connection to the community. So references such as either they lived there at the time or their parents lived there.
So it sounds like it's
a
more,
combination.
it's broader, and I think broader is good, because let's just say somebody, like you said, they moved here and they only lived here for a few months, but wherever they lived before that, maybe that town doesn't have a memorial to work to, right? So it's better to have more than run the chance of them not having any at all. So I think broader is better. So I like what you came up with there.
Yeah, I can easily follow up on your point, Paul, about combat zone.
Thank you.
I agree with Paul, because sometimes they're just doing drills and people get killed, but they're still ready to fight for our country, and they still deserve that respect.
Shauna, thoughts?
I'm sort of in agreement, and I do think that a broader scope is useful because there are contingencies that, we want to consider that may not be so straightforward.
Okay, I'm going to conclude the workshop. I'm going to ask to hold audience questions until we get to the item, what is it, number 8, just because normally we do include questions, including the workshops. Right now, though, I would like to switch to item 6 on our agenda, presentations and bids. And we have our own Amy Hall, our Director of Tourism, who's going to do a brief presentation.
Hi.
Welcome,
Hi,
Amy.
everybody. Hi.
Welcome.
So I don't know how this works with the PowerPoint I sent in.
Oh, Michelle will do that.
Okay.
She'll
And I'm
float
gonna
it.
stand over here because I don't think I can read it from over there.
Okay, Michelle, whenever you're ready, I don't know if she can hear us. Amy's ready for you.
Did anybody here go to Jazz Fest this year?
Yeah.
It was fun.
I did, yeah.
Michelle, are you there?
Actually, I think
Jim just
Arnold's
I think
checking.
Jim went to go. This is very quick.
There you go.
Okay, so here's the Jazz Festival tourism report. Great, next slide.
Hang on 1 second.
So. Here. Oh, we want me to click it or she's gonna?
There we go, okay.
Okay, so this is the first annual Bradley Beach Jazz Festival. It was February 7th and February 8th. The Friday night was 7 to 10 o'clock PM and the Saturday was 6 to 10. It was sold out with 649 seats reserved. Unfortunately, the Saturday night was an ice storm, so we still had a lot of people come, but it wasn't a full house due to the ice storm. People came and left due to the ice storm. The goals were to support Bradley Beach businesses, introduce visitors to Bradley Beach, collect new emails for the borough mailing list, and welcome new followers on social channels, all of which it did. Next slide. Is there a slide after this? Okay, stay here. So we had 127 new emails and contacts for the mailing list, which is a lot for a mailing list. And we had 350 new followers on social media, on our Facebook and Instagram social media platforms. Could you go back one, Michelle? Okay, so I did a survey of people who came to the event. So out of like maybe 450 people, 71 responded, which isn't too bad. A lot were residents. There were a lot of visitors. I didn't break it up into different days, but the reason there were a lot of residents instead of visitors on the Saturday was because of the ice storm. But some people came both dates, some people came one. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being poor and 5 being excellent, please rate the event. So as you can see, we have a lot of 5 stars. People really loved the event who came to it. I also asked everybody in the survey specifically if they ate or drank before or after or during or whatever. So these were the top restaurants that people went to. So I spoke to some of the restaurant owners and they saw an uptick in people eating and drinking and all of that. So that was good. So not the next slide, but the next one. Okay, go past that. Okay, so this is these are the people that came to the event from all over the place. So Bradley Beach is here, and then as you can see around this whole circle, this is where we brought people in from New York, Staten Island, Weehawken, Howell, Jackson, Long Branch, Florham Park. We really had a huge group of people at this event from all over the state and New York. So it was really good. Next slide. We had Jazz Fest sponsors. So we had a piano sponsor at $250 with Seawall Architecture. Saxophone was $500 with Posh and Rappaport Wood Floors. Trumpet was $1,000 with New Jersey Water and the county. And then at the last minute, I did like a Friends of Jazz Fest thing for Ohana Rising. They gave us $25 as a friend. So that helped offset the cost. Next slide. Okay, so this was our green room at the school. The music teacher, Anthony Laprado, let us use his room for the guys to eat and drink and all that. And we had donations from Luna Verde, Darcy's Tavern, Councilwoman Jane, and me, and my mom was right there. So that was really good. Got the restaurants and the community involved that way. Next slide. Okay, so this is everybody in the council except for Paul, and they had brought up the mayor to do some words. He didn't know he was gonna be called up, but he was, and it was nice and everybody loved everybody. It was good. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this was before the event, some of the press that we got.
New Jersey Stage, which is a really high-end publication, from North Jersey. And this is like the two that ran in the CoStar and the Coaster. And then after the event, we had the front page on the CoStar, which is good. Next slide. So here I just wrote a bunch of comments that I asked for in the survey. I just asked like any comments if anybody had. So I'll just read a few. Well done event, beautiful auditorium. We really enjoyed ourselves, shared our experiences with friends when we returned to our own neighborhoods in Jersey. People coming in. Show was amazing. Great job putting it together. I can't say enough about how fabulous this was. It was well attended and the music resonated for days after with me. Next slide. Again, just some more words about the event. It was a world-class, fantastic jazz event, yada, yada, yada. What I put in blue here was some of the comments that I got about charging for tickets next year. We had talked about it as the event was going on, that it would be something good. People would stick to coming, you know, more than having a free ticket. Plus, we would be able to pay for the whole thing, ticket sales. So because I put these in here because we had thought of it and I got probably 20 different answers from people who came who would be willing to give us $20 or $30 a ticket. So that's for next year. Next slide. Oh, so I put this in because I also reached out to the musicians to ask what, you know, did you enjoy coming? Was it good for you? Because it matters to, you know, our people that we hire. So I'm just gonna come over here, but this is Kumo. He lives in Long Branch. He's really involved in the jazz scene. And he said, currently there's no jazz center in Monmouth County. Asbury Park and Red Bank have established their identities. This presents an opportune time for Bradley Beach to become the epicenter of jazz in Monmouth County, much like New Brunswick has claimed this distinction for Middlesex, which will bring new people to Bradley Beach to increase business revenues, real estate values, and tax income. So I wanted to put that there because I thought that was a really important quote from a musician, and it's true. We do have an opportunity to do that. That being said, we're gonna put in a Wednesday night jazz series in the park for the summer. Starts July 9th, and I'm gonna announce the first band for July 9th on the next slide. It'll be the Ocean Avenue Stompers, 7 o'clock show in Riley Park.
Famous Bradley Beach resident.
So, that's my report.
That was awesome. I'll say right away that, as you saw by pictures, most of the council was able to attend. I was there and the second night and it was awesome. I was more than impressed at the talent that you brought to Bradley Beach. So thank you for that. But let's open it up for first comments from the council. Any comments for Amy?
No, other than, this is fantastic to have a postmortem on a big event in town, and I can't remember who, but somebody's been asking for that for years. I can't remember who, but they must be very happy. So thank you. That was great.
All right, while Amy's here, any questions from the audience? Julie?
I would just like to say, I was there for 2 nights and it was fabulous. Thank you, Amy. And
Thank you for your help.
And then all the students, it was like a really nice, organized event. And I think with time, it just will get better and better and better.
Yeah.
Students, the grammar school students participated. You always gotta be the volunteer.
Yeah, we had great volunteers.
And I love your mom, and the jazz musicians were so nice. They were so much fun, and the talent there was amazing, so hopefully more people will attend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to add, we did have, the PTA was involved. They sold snacks and they ended up raising, like $350, which was good for chips and soda. Next year they can sell, you know, more items. We had a lot of volunteers. We had Julie, we had Jane, we had Shauna, we had lots of volunteers. We had, Josephine from the police department was there. We had lots of people helping. The school was great. The custodial staff was great. Anthony Laprado was just like phenomenal on music and lighting and running around everywhere. So it was a really nice, it ended up being like a really good community event that brought in tourists. So it was twofold.
And Amy, I'm telling you, nobody realizes how beautiful that theater is. It is a stunning, stunning theater, especially the ceiling.
Yeah,
It is
it
amazing.
really is something.
I might add too that Amy's been doing this for a while. I'm the liaison from tourism, and she really thinks out of the box. And a lot of people come up with ideas, but they don't ever do it. She actually does it, and it's a success. To make that happen is really admirable, and I just want to thank you so much for your energy and your ideas. Just keep it coming. We appreciate you.
And I'm really, yeah. Amy, thank you again. We'll move to item 7 on the agenda, which is approval of minutes. I'll make a motion that we accept March 4, 2025 council business meeting minutes. There's a second.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr.
Oh, I'm
Noe-
sorry. Actually, I wasn't here last meeting, so I would prefer to abstain.
abstain.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Where was I? Okay, you abstained, Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
I wasn't here also, but I did watch the video, and so I would say yes.
okay,
I'm not
Greg,
sure
is
that
that
that's
okay?
allowed.
Okay.
That's okay, okay, cool, all
Yeah.
right, thank you.
It's not a legal reason you have to abstain if you don't feel like you knew what happened, you know, in the
Great,
minutes, and
okay.
that's exactly precisely.
Thank you, okay. Skip.
I will vote yes.
Yes.
Mayor Gibson, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we get to item 8 on the agenda, public comments or questions pertaining to the agenda only. Mr. Shamkin. Name and address, please, Paul.
Yes, yes.
Paul Champion, 411 and a half Lorraine Avenue. I just wanted to comment on the fallen heroes presentation. As far as the criteria, I don't think you mentioned the merchant marine should also be included. Also, you talked about combat zones, but almost half of our deceased in the First World War died of disease in camps that weren't in combat zones. So I don't think you should restrict it to combat zones if they were on active duty at the time of war or in action. They meet military criteria of dying of their disease or wounds or whatever to be included. Also, what about children who are in the war but are fighting for the Allies? And I don't know if this happened, but in the First World War, a lot of Americans fought for the French, the British, or the Canadians for the first 3 years of the war before the Americans got into it. Similarly, there's always been, veterans of Allied armies who are Americans who might have families that burn Bradley Beach. But I throw that out.
That's a good point. We'll certainly consider it. Thank you. Other questions? Rick?
Rick Bartolome, 116 Newark. When you go over resolution 2025-133 regarding the maps, will you go into detail of what the maps are being used for? That's only a lot.
Yes, we will.
Thank
Other questions about the agenda? Ms. Kepler?
Good evening, Beth Kepler, 504 Central, here in Bradley Beach. I'd like to read a statement in regard to resolution on the agenda tonight, 2025-119. The Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act, RICO, is defined as any group, formal or informal, that commits a pattern of racketeering activities such as bribery, extortion, fraud over a sustained period. Keeping that in mind, I'd like to reflect back from 2004 to 2020, when our borough saw leadership from a man that shaped its direction, first on the council, then as mayor. During that time, in 2018, under his leadership, the Borough Chamber of Commerce was quite literally allowed to falter and collapse. In its place, a new entity emerged on January 1st, 2020, the BBBCA, the Bradley Beach Business Community Alliance, a 501c6. Unlike a municipal department, this organization operates beyond the oversight of our elected officials in government, with no borough right of access to its books and no say in its operations. A convenient shift, some might say.
In fact, that former mayor admitted at a public meeting on October 11th, 2023, being personally responsible for ushering in this new organization, calling it his own creation. That same leader later joined its board of directors as secretary, further blurring the lines between public service and private interests. Then came a new borough administration in 2021, ushered in with political endorsements and door-to-door campaigning by that same figure. The new mayor, before even being sworn in, began championing local private business in interviews, the Bradley Beach Cinema on Main Street. Within weeks of taking office in the midst of a pandemic, a resolution of support for only this one specific business presented by this new mayor surfaced. Then later, with him proposing to funnel $350,000 of our tax dollars, $50,000 a year for 7 years to support this movie theater, a private sector business entity. The BBVCA publicly backed it too. Once again, coincidentally, key players overlapped. A resident cinema co-owner sat on our land use board appointed by the mayor and was also a member of the BBVCA alongside a council president, a resident who served as acting borough business administrator and the BBVCA board treasurer. Residents donated generously to this project, trusting the endorsements and solicitations of borough leaders that they thought they could trust, who are also their neighbors. Yet last week, we learned the Cinema Labs partners are abandoning it, citing financial woes. What about those donations from the residents? Tens of thousands of dollars gone, with no talk of refunds. But this isn't just about one theater. Let's pivot and look at the church disaster, which started under one corrupt administration and continued to be mismanaged under the next. The same two mayors, hands dirty and personally involved with both failed projects. Now consider our recent audits. 2022 flagged with multiple material misstatements. 23 remains unfinished due to shoddy records, with the 24 audit still looming. Our CFO from 23 lost his license to practice in New Jersey, unable to sign off on his own work. And the allocation of our federal COVID funds we've been inquiring about remain unaccounted for to this day. On September 27th, 2023, when asked by a resident, the then acting business administrator explained that the $9,000 payment on the bills list labeled FEMA signs was the borough voluntarily returning unused Sandy relief funds from 2013, 10 years later. Federal laws say misappropriated funds can't be recalled after 3 years unless fraud is suspected. There is no statute of limitation on fraud. I've posted the video to that exchange on my YouTube channel under my name, Beth Kepler, for all to see. I've over-requested the documents surrounding this 2023 FEMA refund the resident volunteer acting VA spoke of. And then there's the bank accounts. We were told that there were approximately 23 accounts. As I've recently stated in an over-request by me revealed that there are in fact 53 bank accounts, double what the amount we were told, spread across 3 banks. The borough admits it doesn't track their purposes or reconcile them. And the 53 bank accounts for a town our size, very unusual. Why the discrepancy? Why the silence? Residents have long worried about the blurred lines and shady record keeping going back to council meetings I've shared clips of recently on my YouTube channel. August 31st, 2021, September 27th, 2023, October 11th, 2023, February 14th, 2024, and April 24th, 2024, all demonstrating residents and council members raising concerns over things such as shared borough addresses on BBVCA letterhead, shared services between the borough and the BBVCA, commingling of trust fund money, sources of payments for events, violations of borough ordinances. I'll continue during the public comments. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Kepler, also, and this is not a commentary on the substance of your comments, but there was a little bit of a stretch for the agenda. The agenda item that you referenced is purely a process for receiving payment from the BBVCA. So I would just say in the future, I don't want to interrupt you, but those types of comments probably are better served for the end of the meeting.
At the end of my comment is where I was able to how it ties into the resolution that's going to be approved, but I ran out of time, but I didn't want to read fast because I wanted everybody to soak in the gravity of what I was saying.
You just, you have so many points. It was, I guess we needed
There's a lot
your,
of- So, yeah, it ties in.
Understood. I'm just trying to be respectful of,
I understand that. I appreciate you indulging me. In the second half of my comments, when I complete it, you'll be able to hear the point that I'm driving at.
Okay. Are there other comments about the agenda? We have hands up here, Erica.
Oh, yeah, you have one on Zoom, Mia Mullen.
Ms. Mullen? Mia Mullen? are you-
Mia?
Okay, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. I'll be quick. I just wanted to ask about, or if you can comment on it before the resolution is passed, the approval of shared services agreement between us and Neptune City for Rec Director. It's 2025-123. Just want to know what this means to the community. And access to our rec center, does that mean we're sharing it now with Neptune City? And we can, I don't know if they have a rec center, I have no idea. And how does this affect Courtney's role? This being a shared, well, I guess she's the one that's going to be, is Courtney staying in her position, or is there a new rec director because we're going to do shared services?
I'll just give a quick summary. We will discuss it when we get to the resolution, but there's two different resolutions. One is sharing a shared service with Neptune, so their residents can participate in our summer camp at our rec center at our resident fee levels. So we did this in prior years. We're doing it again, extending them the same $660 fee to participate that we provide to our own children. The second one is a shared service with the rec center director herself, Courtney Pappas. Courtney made the case that so much of what she does can be pretty easily leveraged by her to serve a second community. I interrogated her extensively to make sure she could take on another community and still, deliver all the programs she's doing here. She can, she tells me she can. And Neptune City is very anxious to have her join them and head up their rec center. So she will actually manage our rec center and Neptune City's. Neptune City will pay us basically half of Courtney's costs. So it'll result in an increase in pay for Courtney and additional funds back to Bradley Beach. So we will, in effect, profit from sharing Courtney with Neptune City.
So does Neptune City have a rec director now, or they don't, is what it sounds like?
They have, and he's retiring.
Oh, okay. And then do they have their own rec center, like building with facility the way we do?
I haven't been there, but I'm told it's much nicer than ours.
Okay.
They do, yes.
Okay, just wondered what the change would be for our community, and if Courtney's confident that there won't be changes and she'll keep doing all the great things she does, terrific. And I wasn't questioning the camp. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, any other questions on the Zoom? I can't. That's it?
Don't see any other hands.
One more?
We're good.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kristen Mahoney.
Hi, Kristen Mahoney, 200 Lorraine. So if we're gonna do shared services with Neptune, does that mean that we'll get to use, because they do have nice websites for Neptune, they also have great senior services. Does that mean that our seniors can use their services now at their rec center?
At this juncture, that is not yet resolved. That is not captured in tonight's agenda, but it is a part of ongoing discussion.
Okay.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll move to item number 9 on the agenda, which is the introduction of ordinances. We'll start with ordinance 2025-11, an ordinance amending chapter 1, general provisions of the borough's revised general ordinances to revise and update the local supplemental violations bureau schedule as approved by Monmouth County assignment judge pursuant to New Jersey Court Rule 7:12-4. That's a long-winded way of saying we're increasing our court-related fees, parking fees, various, court-related fees. And a point of note for everyone's benefit, I was able to sit down with the judge who administers our court and our court administrator. I've engaged council members as well, Shauna Greenblatt. And basically, we have gone through a process of updating fees that were updated in the past. Some of them updated in 2005, 20 years ago. Others last updated in 1980. So we have some fairly significant price increases, and we've been behind the eight ball a little when compared to other local municipalities. So this is intended to bring us up to 2025. And ballpark estimate, because we don't have an exact number, is it should come close to doubling the revenue that we received last year, 70–80% increase or so. So, but otherwise it is largely all focused on court-related fees and fines. Any comments? I'll make a motion that we introduce ordinance 2025-11.
Second. Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, introduction of ordinance 2025-12, calendar year 2025, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limit and to establish a cap bank. And basically, we're adding 1% to what is an authorized 2.5%. I know, Mr. Cohen, in the past, you've raised some concerns. This is, as we've talked to our CFO, a relatively standard adjustment that most municipalities undertake. Any comments?
I would just ask Mayor, looking ahead here for our budget reconciliation, setting the actual budget, what is our time frame for doing that?
We've begun that process. The reason we had a very late beginning is because we did not know what salaries would be until we completed the union negotiation. So we now have salaries. Very pressing is we have to actually process payments for retro salaries. One of our other resolutions in tonight's agenda, in fact, is shifting dollars around from reserves to enable us to make those payments. And as part of that process, we can now dive headfirst into setting the 2025 budget. Our CFO is in Ireland at the moment, but he has provided me budget worksheets, which I am beginning to organize and combine with the new data we have. So hopefully, Paul, to finally answer your question, I think in the next 30 days, we should be pretty close to having a budget we can present to the residents.
Thank you.
Okay, if no other comments, I'll make a motion that we introduce ordinance 2025-12.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Introduction of ordinance 2025-13, an ordinance establishing certain salaries of certain officers and employees of the borough of Bradley Beach in the county of Monmouth and the state of New Jersey, and repealing any and all other ordinances inconsistent herewith. This is basically our salary ordinance, which establishes ranges by role within the borough, salary ranges. And the last time this was updated was 2021, so not quite as bad as some of our fines, but nonetheless about a 4-year hiatus. And I want to tip my hat a little bit to Mr. Doherty, who worked on this with, was it you as well, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes, Councilman Greenblatt.
So, so thank you both for your input on this. Any questions or comments about this ordinance? Okay, if no comments, I will make a motion that we introduce ordinance 2025-13.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Also under item number 9 are ordinance adoptions, and there are none. So we'll move to item number 10, communications. I have a very brief communication regarding the 2023 audit. We do not have the audit yet. We are about 2 weeks or so out from a very strict deadline to deliver it. And last I knew, actually, Mr. Ken, you were working on a legal representation letter.
Yes.
Have you delivered that yet, or is
I
that?
have not yet, that will be coming shortly.
Okay, our auditor has a draft prepared of his audit report. And again, we're coming down the home stretch, but once he receives the legal representation letter from Mr. Cannon, which basically, Greg, that just describes lawsuits and risk problems. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a risk management letter.
Okay, and once our auditor receives that from our attorney, he will deliver the draft. So it's taken an extremely long time, but we should have a 2023 audit report soon. And then we will immediately begin preparing the corrective action report, which we've had historic difficulties doing. While under communications, I'm gonna stray from our format ever so slightly because I did ask Mr. Cafone, our director of DPW, to just provide an update. Doctor, you have so much going on. I just wanted our residents to quickly hear what's on your plate as we move forward.
Yes, first and foremost, I had a nice lunch today with Councilman Nowicki. We went over some of the upcoming projects and wanted to thank him for that. Very informative on my part. Hopefully, I'll offer the same back to you. We did our first brush pickup of the year in March. We have leaf pickup starting in April 1st. 2 brush pickups starting at, that's gonna happen in April. We had to clean the church out today, get it prepared more for safety concerns for the upcoming auction. And it will be done before they're coming in to run this auction, just to make it as safe as we possibly can. We did, one of the residents requested that the 3-way stops were not up to par, so just wanted to let Ms. Mola know that they were all taken care of. From one end of town all the way to the other on Madison Avenue. We ordered the mowing mats for Evergreen and Cliff Avenue. They're 10-foot wide. They're 50-foot in length. And they're gonna go out just beyond the dunes with a T and some benches to make it handicap friendly. We're gonna include showers and new areas for wheelchair accessible areas to turn to make it easy for them to clean the sand off and so on and so forth. And we also built our first storage container for the lifeguards. We have one more that's gonna be built amongst other things. So we are at a very busy time and that's my, 2 cents here.
Well, thank you, Biagio. You and your team have a lot going on, and I know we're pushing a lot of that agenda, so thank you for just jumping on everything.
No problem.
I have a question.
No question.
I noticed that the concrete plateau under where the showers
Yes.
were, so you've already removed those?
We removed that, we've had problems with that location for water pooling in certain areas. And we're eliminating that issue. So it's more user friendly, and when it rains, people actually, when they use the shower, the water would run out to the pavers. So we eliminated that.
The one on Evergreen you're talking about?
Correct.
And so new showers are being installed as well?
Yes.
And will they have automatic shut-offs?
I have to, I'm gonna rely on my assistant for that, but what exact,
We prefer to use the paddle handles, the automatic shut-offs with the sand, they get stuck on more than off. We've had a lot of problems with them for years and you could take a wire, clean them, rebuild them, and a week later, but same problem. So we prefer to use the paddles. And they are handicap paddles and
Right.
yeah, they're much cheaper to replace and
Right.
may not look as nice, but they work just as good.
Can we put signage up to remind people to cut the water off? Because sometimes people walk away without turning the water off.
Yeah, if there's a location where that is an issue, but those, I believe we're gonna have a chain. And they're gonna pull it down, or they're gonna just be able to.
That's just the foot, yeah.
Okay, so it kind of resets itself on its own. If they do get stuck, we get to that location, somebody will alert us if we don't see it ourselves. But they are automatic, so you turn it and it turns back. I believe Asbury Parks is the same, that we're templating, doing the same template as theirs. We like to think it's gonna be a little better, but, yeah, I think they'll shut themselves off.
Thank you, Biagio.
No problem.
Okay, we'll move to item 11, resolutions, and the first part of the resolutions are consent agenda resolutions. I actually have been informed that there are questions that still exist related to consent agenda item 2025-121, approving the Bradley Beach Fire Department exempt firemen's association. So I'd like to make a motion that we table this for this evening to provide the council more time to understand this application.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, regarding the,
Excuse me.
yes,
So the Monmouth County Block Party, I'm just wondering, you know, maybe some guidance here, because if you're a resident on Monmouth, should that be coming off that consent and maybe address that separately? Because I don't believe that I or maybe Councilman Greenblatt can actually vote on that.
You understand the question?
Yeah, you live on the street that the block party is being held.
And it's a consent agenda, so if we couldn't participate in the overall consent agenda with that item, in there, we can't abstain from an
If you
individual.
live on Monmouth Street? Well, two. Well, yeah, then maybe you remove that and vote separately on it.
Okay.
So you can abstain from it.
Thank you.
We made a motion for that.
So
we'll move it.
and while we have this topic going, are there any other discussion points for consent agenda? We'll make that a motion, but any other comments or?
Good.
Okay, Paul, would you, I'll make the motion that we vote out separately 2025-118, the block party on Monmouth Ave.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda resolution items 2025-119 through, well, and 2025-120.
Second.
Oh, and I'm sorry, 122,
Oh, yes.
2025-122. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, make a motion to approve 2025-118, a block party for Monmouth Avenue, Sunday, July 13th. Rain date of Sunday, August 3rd, 5 PM to 9 PM. Is there a
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Abstain.
Mr. Nowicki?
Abstain.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
We have all these council people partying on.
You're all invited.
Warrant recusal, this better be like a good.
I will vote yes.
One
block, okay.
Okay, we'll move to individual resolutions, starting with 2025-113, authorizing public sale of surplus property consisting of certain artifacts and other items from the borough's former church property at 319 Lorraine Avenue. Councilwoman Denos.
Yeah, I've been handling this. I met with Peter Costanza. He's a local auctioneer. And it looks like we're shooting for an auction date of April 30th. So things are starting to pick up. I know you met with Peter today. Thank you so much. And it was interesting because he had the same thought I did. I said, we have to bring it down to 2 rooms. We can't have everybody walking around the entire church. That's great. He is organizing everything. He will establish starting bids. So there are some attachment to the resolution saying some appraisal that's from the previous administration, but he will establish the starting bid. We are working with the Bradley Beach Historical Society on this. We're also working with the Church of the Presidents as well for their museum. So I look forward to a legal, a respectful, and inclusive process with this.
And there may be other comments, but I just want to thank Council President DeNoble for her diligence on pulling this all together, because we really inherited this at the end of last year.
We did, yeah, and I talked to a lot of different auctioneers, and he was highly recommended, and it's nice that he's out of Neptune City, so he's very close by as well.
Any other comments?
I'd like to just comment, later is the resolution for CME services for the building demolition on 2025-134. But just to dovetail these two together, the first thing that we're doing is we need to take care of the artifacts, the disposition of those. Secondly is the demolition. And so we did in fact need to re-advertise the contract for the demolition. We're also going to be finishing the grading plan, providing that to the land use board. And so all that had to come together, and the timing of all this needs to tie together with the artifacts, the stuff that Jane is working on, Council President. And I'm working with her, with CME, to make sure that we all line this up, so that we can expedite the demolition, the artifact disposition, then the demolition and restoration of the site. And hopefully, here by early summer. Target, we're pushing everybody for Memorial Day, but that's a push. It could slide a little bit. So we are doing everything we can to push this process expeditiously as possible.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, if no other comments, I'll make a motion that we adopt individual resolution 2025-113 regarding the public sale of surplus property.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
My turn to abstain.
Mayor Gutozzi? Mayor?
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, next item on individual resolutions, 2025-123, approval of shared service agreement with Neptune City for Recreation Director. And I mentioned to Ms. Mullen a little while ago, this is an opportunity for our current Recreation Director, Courtney Pappas, to actually take on the directorship of a second municipality, Neptune City. And Neptune City will share with us her salary and other employee benefits, the cost of healthcare, pension, things like that. So net, Bradley Beach will actually receive revenue, and Ms. Pappas is very confident she can deliver her existing services at relatively modest additional effort, because the work she's doing, she says, is highly leverageable. So with that said, any questions?
Yeah, I do have some questions.
Please.
So we're under the assumption that she's been a full-time recreation director currently, right?
It's more than an assumption, yes, fact.
I mean, she's been regarded as a full-time, so is her role now becoming a part-time?
No. She can just do 2 jobs, maybe put in more hours, but she's going to deliver full rec director.
She's an exempt employee, right? She doesn't get overtime,
Correct.
so I assume she's gonna get paid more to be the Neptune City.
Oh, yeah.
So as much time as it takes, so.
So in terms of the hours, though, are there going to be set hours where she's in Bradley Beach and available to Bradley Beach versus Neptune City? How is that working out practically?
The resolution suggests 50-50 timeshare, but we don't have specific hours, like scheduled Monday, Tuesday, and half of Wednesday. She will make herself available 50% of each work week.
And will there be activities also that are more collaborative with Neptune City as a consequence of her new role?
I would say likely, but not yet defined. But for example, someone asked about seniors. That's something that we've been led into that discussion. We don't have it resolved, but there may be an opportunity for our people to utilize some of their rec center. Because Courtney will be in charge of both.
And also our field, which is not adequate in size for certain sports. Does Neptune City have an opportunity to offer Bradley Beach some of their facilities?
Not yet explored, so possibly, I don't know.
So it could be a big win for both communities.
Could be, at a minimum, it's getting her situated to help 2 communities get paid a little more. Have Bradley Beach reduce our cost by increasing revenue. And to the extent that these other opportunities, will certainly explore them. Any other questions?
I think it opens the door to a lot of opportunities, which is great.
Yeah, I would say that she could become an advocate for sharing of, assets, recreational, assets between the township and, city and ourselves, which would be a great thing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Okay, if no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-123, the shared service with Neptune City for the Recreation Director.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gutozzi?
Yes. 2025-124, approval of a shared service agreement renewal with Neptune City for summer camp. We've done this at least last year and possibly a few years. We just offer our discounted fees for Bradley Beach residents to Neptune City residents as well. This particular agreement helps us fill up the capacity for our summer camp.
I have a question.
Please.
So In terms of DPW services for the summer camp, is there gonna be any sort of a split with Neptune City?
We have DPW services.
Any services to clean up? I don't know how DPW serves the summer camp program in terms of the facility.
No, it's not broken down that finely. I mean, the fees paid $660 a week for each participant. In theory, covers the cost of the camp and cleanup and things like that, so, but we haven't allocated any additional costs to Neptune City.
We do this every year where we offer them at the same price, and this is the first time I ever remember about it, but it's really just about the cost of summer camp.
No, I understand that, but with that gracious offer to Neptune City, is there an opportunity also to recoup some of the maintenance fees associated with the camp program,
Yeah.
since we're offering them in borough
The
rates?
fees. I mean, somebody, to answer that question completely, somebody would have to say, we're losing money, we're making money, or we're not making as much money, but the fees are intended to cover the costs of the camp, so DPW's costs, in theory, is being recovered by these fees. I have not done a detailed cost analysis to determine if, if those extra fees are not gonna cover the extra costs. I would think if we didn't offer this and we had fewer participants, we'd have fewer bodies to spread DPW's costs over, so I think this is beneficial to Bradley. But I can't answer you specifically.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of a discount they.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but do we know how much the discount is?
I think
over
it's
what-
like, well, Courtney's not here, right, but it's maybe $100 and maybe it's like $750 versus $660.
It's a renewal that's been done before, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's in Bradley Beach, it's the campus here.
No, I understand that. I'm
Okay.
simply looking at the numbers and saying that if we're offering this opportunity to
Right.
get them in borough fees. For the camp program, but they're outside of,
Right.
I know we're going now into a shared service agreement also with the employee. But I'm just wondering if some of the maintenance costs can also be a little bit offset. I don't know how many students actually get those reduced fees from them.
It's something like ballpark, don't hold me. It's something like we have capacity for 130 students total. With this agreement, we have not yet hit 130, we've hit 110. I think there's capacity for 20 more. Maybe we'll hit that this year. But again, to my earlier point, if we don't offer this and that costs us some participation, we'd have fewer fees to recover what likely be similar DPW costs, because they're gonna serve 80 people or 120 people doing whatever, cleanup work or organizing work.
To clear it up, we don't provide a ton, we'll just do our normal day-to-day activity, whether it's cut grass.
Yeah.
We lap or we provide a cleaning service with the individuals that we currently have. There's nothing more than that unless Courtney gives us a little time in advance. If she has a little something going on in the field, we may prep something, but it's not a tremendous amount. She's pretty self-sufficient there.
I view this myself as a win-win kind of agreement, because we would not fill up our capacity with Bradley Beach alone.
Well, and Mayor, you may be able to parlay this for our seniors to be able to take advantage of other programs or other areas of our, joint use. And so this goodwill of doing this, we should parlay that into other benefit.
Any other comments or? No? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-124 shared service agreement renewal with Neptune City for summer camp.
Second,
Ms. Noble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. And by the way, those discounted fees are still increased over last year. Individual resolution 2025-125, approval of shared service agreement with renewal with Neptune City for prisoner detainment. We've had this in place for a number of years now, 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, since I've been here.
Yeah, and we bumped it, it was 15,000, we bumped it to 16,000. So we're, whatever that is, 3 or 4% bump. And we continue to have the capacity, as I understand it, so again, seems like a win-win agreement. Any questions or comments?
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-125 shared service agreement renewal with Neptune City for prisoner detainment.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. One of my absolute favorite individual resolutions. 2025-126, approving an employment agreement with the Borough of Bradley Beach Municipal Clerk, Erica Kostitz, registered municipal clerk. And the reason this is a favorite, one, we have a wonderful clerk. Two, as a council member, myself and other colleagues have been asking for Erica to have a contract for a number of years. And we did not get that accomplished until tonight. So.
Yeah, I have a comment. We should have waited on the applause till after the vote, but.
Let's do the vote, and then I have something to say.
Okay,
That would be
let's
all
say the
right,
vote. Okay.
Okay. Do I have a second?
No further comments?
Second.
I didn't make, I will officially motion that we approve the employment agreement with Borough Bradley Beach Municipal Clerk. Erica
Second.
Kostitz.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes.
And I would just like to thank Mayor Gubatose and the council for this contract. It was long awaited. It will be very useful. And Kristen, thank you, because you were an advocate when you were up there, so thank you also. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, great.
Yeah, one more.
I really appreciate it. This evening.
Okay, the next individual resolution is 2025-127. And it is with a degree of sadness that I'm gonna motion that we withdraw this resolution, because Mr. Doherty, we have provided him with an opportunity to remain with Bradley, but he found a better opportunity. So Matthew will be leaving us in 2 weeks. But he has been a wonderful person to work with. He got us through a really challenging first couple of months of my new administration and then the 2 new council members. Done a phenomenal job, Matt. We'll probably sing your praises a little more tonight, but for right now, I'd like to make a motion that we withdraw 2025-127.
Shall we vote?
Was there a second?
Yeah, I seconded.
Mr. Noble?
Unfortunately, yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. Okay, I'm back to happy news. We have another contract that we have formalized. Approving an employment agreement with the Borough of Bradley Beach DPW Director Biagio Capone. And once again, Biagio, you've been a wonderful resource for this borough. You've been a wonderful resource to me, both as a council person and now newly as a mayor. Like so many others, you have not seen your pay adjusted in a few years. But this is another great pleasure to be able to reward you for all the hard work and all the value you deliver to the borough. So thank you. I'll make a motion. Any comments or questions? I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-128, approving an employment agreement with the Borough of Bradley Beach DPW Director Biagio Capone.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Resounding yes. Thank you. All right. 2025-129, authorizing the transfer of appropriation reserves in the fiscal 2024 budget. And basically what we're doing here is taking reserves that existed in 2024 that still exist and basically transferring them into 25. These dollars are largely going to be used to fund the retro pay agreements that we've reached with local 120, local 152. Any comments or questions? I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-129, authorizing the transfer of appropriation reserves in fiscal 24 budget.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose.
Yes. 2025-130, authorizing amendments to the temporary budget. This is a much smaller dollar amount. And this is intended to help us fund some of the immediate expenses coming up related to the beach utility. Specifically, we're gonna talk in a moment about Moby mats and gem cars and so forth. And we want to make sure we have the appropriate authorization to fund those purchases. Any comments or questions? I'll make a motion that we accept or that we approve 2025-130, authorizing amendments to the temporary budget.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose.
Yes. Speaking of gem cars, resolution 2025-131, authorizing contracts with certain state contract vendor, Eastern Lift Truck Company, Inc., for the purchase of 2 gem cars, gem vehicles for the Borough of Bradley Beach via state cooperative contract pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-12A. And what we're doing here is we're purchasing 2 small electric vehicles with higher capacity charging capabilities. These vehicles will be used by our police department to monitor the parking along Ocean Ave during the summer months. They will each be equipped with license plate readers. And 2 things. One, this is going to create a much more efficient process for us all going forward. We're avoiding a large outlay of funds if we were to instead update our existing parking meter equipment. Thank you. And so again, think of this as a win in efficiency, and actually a win in cost. And another side benefit that we've talked with the police about at good length is we'll be able to use these license plate readers, obviously during the summer months for monitoring the parking, but for 8 or so months of the year, when we're not using them for Ocean Avenue, the police will be able to have 3 license plate readers working, hoping to identify violations and potential outstanding warrants or whatever. And each one should more than pay for itself. So any other comments or questions? Make a motion that we adopt 2025-131, authorizing the contracts for the 2 gem vehicles for the Borough of Bradley Beach via state cooperative contract.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose.
Yes. 2025-132, I just mentioned license plate readers. This authorizes us to purchase 2 state contract vendor, Leonardo US Cyber and Security Solutions LLC, purchase 2 license plate readers for the Borough of Bradley Beach. And again, these will be used to monitor parking during the summer on Ocean Ave, but we'll be able to use these the rest of the year round for our regular police vehicles. Any questions or comments? I will make a motion that we approve 2025-132, authorizing the purchase of the license plate readers from Security Solutions LLC.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose.
Yes. Item 2025-133, authorizing contracts with certain approved state contract vendor, Deschamps Mats System, Inc., for the purchase of beach mats for the Borough of Bradley Beach via state cooperative contract pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-12A. Notice all of these are state contract, state approved contractors. Someone asked earlier specifically about these Moby mats. These are specifically going to be used, they are 10-foot wide. Our current Moby mats are 4 feet wide. These will provide ample opportunity for folks in wheelchairs, confined to wheelchairs, and or like motored carts to be able to navigate our Moby mats and get onto the beach and hopefully spend a day with friends and relatives on our beaches. That really is not very practical today because of the narrow width of our current Moby mats. We are going to use these Moby mats in 2 beaches. Mr. Kafo mentioned that earlier. They will be our designated wheelchair accessible beaches. And related to this resolution, one of our engineers, Avakian, is putting together finishing touches. We're gonna meet with them tomorrow. Finishing touches to create handicap pickup and drop off spots at those two beaches. And that'll entail some striping and so forth, painting of our either Ocean Ave or related spots for pickup and drop off. This resolution, again, related to the purchase of the Moby mats themselves.
And Mayor, it's Evergreen and what's the other?
Cliff,
The Cliff parking area there.
right?
Any other comments, questions?
I would just comment, Mayor, that this was an initiative that you took on in the beginning of your administration, and you drove this, and it's really important to provide, ADA compliant facilities for our community. So, thank you for that effort.
Well, thank you. We've talked, Bradley Beach has talked about having handicap access, and we have, and we've done a decent job of it, but I thought the one failing of Bradley Beach was specifically wheelchair access. It's much more challenging for individuals in wheelchairs and or motorized carts and vehicles. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's gonna be a great addition to our beachfront. And again, I'll tip my hat to our DPW for doing the work they're doing to help facilitate this. So if no further questions, I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-133, the purchasing of the mats from the Deschamps mat system for Borough of Bradley Beach via state cooperative contract.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, resolution 2025-134, authorizing the award of professional engineering services with CME Associates for the 319 Lorraine Avenue building demolition. Paul, I'd like to turn this over to you. You've been instrumental in getting us to tonight.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned earlier, we had to move this, re-advertise the contract for the demolition, that had previously been put together by the previous administration without the engineer, directly involved. And because of liability, et cetera, it's important that a professional engineer do this contract from a liability standpoint, as well as address those issues that the community brought forward regarding grading and protection around the site, and setting those grades and taking it back to the land use board. We are putting pressure on CME to expedite this, to get the permits in place with the field soil conservation district, et cetera. And then go back out to a bid that over like a 10-day period, get those bids in and move this thing and get rid of this chapter and move forward with improving our community. So I'm excited about that.
And I'd also just like to thank Paul for his expertise in being able to navigate through these projects, and also your persistence in getting the costs down, which I know was something that you had to work at. And without your expertise, that would not have happened.
It's so nice to have an engineer overseeing our town. On our council.
I'll be clear, I'm not exercising myself as an engineer,
Right.
as a council.
With a background, yes. It is nice to have you on the council. This is
But
wonderful. Thank you.
between the two of you, you've done a great job getting us and keeping us on track for the ultimate demolition of the church property. Thank you both.
Yes, thank you.
With that, I will make a motion that we approve 2025-134, authorizing the award of professional engineering services to CME Associates for 319 Lorraine demolition.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item 2025-135, our bill list for March 18th, 2025. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, none noted. I make a motion that we approve 2025-135 bill list for March 18th, 2025.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. We'll move to item 12 on the agenda, announcements, and there are none. We'll move to item 13A, the administrator report, Mr. Doherty.
Mayor, I think the clerk wins best dressed for tonight. but- And happy belated St. Patrick's Day to all my Irish brothers and sisters, and happy early St. Joseph's Day to all the Italian brothers and sisters. Couple updates, we are gonna have a new zoning officer coming on board, someone who's very familiar to folks, in Bradley Beach, Ted Bianchi. Now, when I say Ted Bianchi, I have to categorize him as the senior Ted Bianchi, because there's some Ted Bianchi as well. He's gonna be coming on as our zoning officer, he's a zoning officer now in Belmar, and I worked with him for many, many years. We're also gonna have a new receptionist, administrative assistant starting April 1st. We interviewed many candidates. It's a great thing that a lot of people do want to work for this town. So she'll be starting in a couple weeks. We are still working on a new payroll clerk. The mayor and I have interviewed a few folks, and we're still trying to find the best person for that position. We're also looking to bring on a code enforcement officer on a part-time basis to get out there and enforce the code. We're looking for compliance. We're not looking to fine people, but sometimes that does happen. As the mayor mentioned, unfortunately, this is gonna be my last borough council meeting with everybody. And I appreciate the mayor. The mayor and I have talked for months before he became mayor, when he was elected. And all of a sudden that morphed into me being the business administrator, and the council took a chance on me as well, so I appreciate that. And, you know, I can tell you, and I give a good, I think, objective review of the employees. The employees here are phenomenal. They have been through a lot the last 2 years, and that was not fair. But they've come out, they're remarkably resilient, they're hardworking, and they care about the community they serve. They have great leadership, whether it's Chief Arnold, DPW Director Cafone. As you mentioned before, Mayor, you have a great clerk here. You have an outstanding borough attorney. So there is good leadership as well as great rank and file employees. And I can tell the residents that you have a really remarkable governing body. You know, if you have 5 members of the council, you know, hopefully you have 3 that are, you know, intelligent, hardworking, and caring. You don't have 3, you have 5. I mean, you have an all-star team here. We mentioned before Councilman Nowicki. I literally sit there in amazement watching him talk to the engineers, and I just nod and say, yep, whatever he says is the right thing to do. You know, working with Councilwoman Greenblatt, I can tell you that there's gonna be some remarkable infrastructure projects coming down the pike. I'm just gonna tease it a little bit, Councilwoman, but and it's because of her determination and the relationships that she's built. But whether Councilman Weber or Council President DeNoble, every member of your governing body is really tremendous. So I would tell you, and you know, led by the mayor himself, having been a mayor, I would tell you that you know, sometimes the mayor's gonna make decisions and you're not gonna understand 100% why. But I can tell you, working with him literally every day, including on weekends, talking every day, even when he was in Florida, tending to a family emergency. You are very lucky to have someone who has the skill set to lead a community like this. You are a special community. And again, as someone from the outside, I can be objective. If you live in Bradley Beach, you made it. You live in a great community with great people. You're lucky to be here. You know how many people would love to live in this community? So, you know, people are gonna have their differences, you can have difference of opinion on policy. But if there's any advice I can give, go easy on each other. You're in a great place. You know, there's an old Irish saying, right? If you're lucky to be Irish, you're lucky enough. I would tell you, if you're lucky enough to live in Bradley Beach, you're lucky enough. This is a great community. I'm glad I got to be a little part of it, which will be a total of 90 days. So thank you for that. It's been a great experience. And you know, I told the mayor I'm here through this transition period. And anything I can do for any members of the council, or any of the directors or any employees, even after I leave, I'd be happy to help in any capacity. So thank you all very much for the residents for taking me.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. We'll now get to the mayor and council reports. And let me start with Mr. Nowicki.
That's a hard one to follow.
Yeah, it sure is.
So, Mr. Doherty, Matt, thank you for your leadership and partnership in this transition. Because, being a new council person coming on, I'm having your experience, not just, as mayor, but as council person in Belmar, and your perspective on things. It made my life a lot easier to integrate and serve the community. So thank you for all you did, and you will be missed. Thank you. So that's my first part of my report. Secondly is, I'll just report on the police department. There was a few activities. An individual had been found in possession of controlled substances, was charged, prosecuted for those controlled substances, and they had also had the intent to distribute controlled dangerous substance, and prosecution in a possession in a school zone. Secondly, there was arrest made of an individual attempting to elude the police during a traffic stop. They were also charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and issued a motor vehicle summons. He also struck several parked vehicles in Ocean Grove in the pursuit. So, and then the third one is 2 individuals were arrested on outstanding contempt of court warrants. And then officers also investigated 3 motor vehicle accidents, several additional calls for service between February 22nd and March 16th. But again, thank you to our police department for all they do and keeping us safe on a daily basis, and for the things that they put themselves out there to make sure we have a better place to live. So thank you. And then I'd also want to just a quick report on Sylvan Lake. We're continuing to meet and advance the projects. Tomorrow is a Sylvan Lake Commission meeting. So if you'd like to hear about what's going on, we're in the planning process, as well as with the TAC and with the Littoral Society, and on the bulkhead improvement along Bradley Boulevard. So those, the engineering planning has begun on that. And we're also looking at the control gate that allows the flow of the water to the outfall to the ocean. That outfall is being replaced by the DEP and will be under construction in October, November timeframe. And we'll be meeting with them tomorrow morning, actually, just to see where things are and what are the restrictions environmentally, and making sure that we're coordinated across these projects and making sure that we're not bumping into each other along the way, and that we're well coordinated to minimize the disruptions. So those are my report, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council President.
Sure, I'll start with tourism. They had a meeting on Tuesday, March 11th. I attended, and they just reviewed their Shamrock Hunt. It was a big success. They're looking forward to the Green Fair. They approved some invoices, and their current balance is $76,986. On to the Shade Tree, had a meeting Wednesday, March 5th. One application on 711 Madison Avenue to remove 1 tree and plant 1 tree. One of the members has resigned, Susan Pearsall. She is now being replaced by Holly Mayer, is a full-time member. And on the calendar, they're looking forward to Arbor Day, April 25th. The spring planting will be eliminated, and they look forward to a fall planting. The date will be announced, and their current balance in the Shade Tree account is $14,736. Oh, also congratulations. We are once again Tree City USA. Thank you to the Shade Tree Commission. This was approved by the Arbor Day Foundation. So we'd like to thank the Shade Tree Commission for their commitment to creating a greener, healthier community. And this is a significant achievement, and we are so proud of you, and we thank you. With the school, their Board of Ed meeting is actually this evening, but I did want to share that the superintendent told me that today at the College of New Jersey, Bradley Beach Elementary School was honored as a Sustainable Jersey School Sustainable Jersey for Schools grant recipient and recognized as a grant success story. This award reflects not only our commitment to sustainability, but also the unwavering support of the Board of Ed and the broader Bradley Beach community. And Dr. Heidelberg would like to say a special thank you to the board vice president, Brigitte Devane, and their Board of Ed members who took leadership responsibility in passing the resolution a number of years ago that set Bradley Beach Elementary School's sustainability efforts into motion. So thank you, Bridget. I did miss last week's meeting, so I didn't get to share that. I was invited by Dr. Heidelberg, the superintendent, to read to the second graders. It was my honor, and it was a lot of fun to share the joy of reading with them. And also, the third graders came into the borough and got a tour and learned about municipal government. And I had requested in the past to be a participant because I thought it'd be nice to see an elected woman as well as an elected man. And I never did get the invitation, but this year I did get the invitation. In fact, there was 2 elected women that got to participate, Councilwoman Shauna Greenblatt, and we welcomed the children in. And then Shauna and I got up to the dais and the children applauded and cheered. And I wondered, why can't this happen more often? But it was happy. It was a happy day to have that. And of course, when the mayor came up as well, they cheered as well. But I wanted to thank Mayor Gubitosi for including the elected women this year as well. So thank you, Mayor, for that. And oh, and one more thing. The council people, Noriki and Weber, attended the safety improvements to Memorial Drive. And just to give you a quick overall, they're looking to do a road diet where they're converting the 4 lanes down to 3 lane sections, providing 1 lane in each direction with dedicated turn lanes, very similar to Main Street in Asbury Park, where they have that middle lane. So rather than 4 lanes, 2 lanes with a turning lane. Providing dedicated bike lanes. You think, why do you want a bike on Memorial Drive? Well, that's how they're going to get their funding. They have to incorporate a bike lane. Also, they're going to install a new traffic light at the intersection of 4th Avenue, thank goodness. And they're also looking to do high visibility crosswalks at all pedestrian crossings within the study area. They're looking to get the review and approval done between 2025 and 2026, looking for construction in 2027. And then also too, I would like to thank Matt Doherty. We learned a lot. We learned a lot since he's been here. We learned that the council and the mayor can work together. We can have an inclusive process. We can be part of the process. And we learned that employees can be happy, that their morale can be good. And we also learned that we can benefit from someone that has a lot of experience with municipal government already, and they have a lot of knowledge. And we also learned that we benefit from somebody that has a can-do attitude. And you do have a can-do attitude. And we have a lot to do in Bradley Beach, and we can do it. And we're going to continue to do it, and we're going to miss you. But I think you set us on the right path, and we appreciate your time and your effort. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Greenblatt.
So I'll start actually where Jane ended and just express my appreciation to Matt Doherty. I was holding my breath all day, waiting to hear what the news was, and was unfortunately very disappointed to hear that we were losing him. So in the short time that Matt Doherty's been with us, he's really been phenomenal and setting a very high bar for the next person who's going to fill those shoes, even though we've only had him for a short time. So thank you again, Matt. And I hope we see you often back in the borough. So I'm going to start. I do have some council reports. I wanted to share some PSA announcements. This one from the Monmouth County Commissioner Director Tom Arnone. RIDE in Monmouth, enhancing transportation services. This is what is now replacing SCAT. I think I had once raised the question about transportation for medical services. So formerly called SCAT, they provide service to seniors 60 years of age and over, and to disabled residents whose disability is either temporary or permanent. And they provide medical trips, including life-sustaining treatments, and it's offered at no charge. So it's curb to curb service operation Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3:30 on a first come, first served basis. And anyone who is interested, who qualifies in that category of 60 years of age or over, or with a disability, can reach out to the Monmouth County Transportation for this. And I'm hoping that we can put this information on our borough website as a service to our community.
I think we should.
Yeah. And then from our D11 legislators, Vin Gopal, Margie Donlin, and Luann Peter Paul, there was I guess a quarterly Zoom update from these folks. I think John Weber and I were both on this. And two particular points I just wanted to make is that the former Senior Freeze and Anchor programs is now called Stay New Jersey. And Stay New Jersey is kind of the umbrella for all of these, and it's a one-stop shop for senior property tax relief. So constituents can go to the site to determine eligibility. The threshold for senior relief is a $500,000 income level. The prior program automatically renewed, but this new program requires a new application. The team has offered to come to do an information session to our community, and I would hope and suggest that perhaps we can make use of that either to our senior club or as a public information session to community members who might be interested. The deadline for Real ID, and I think this is a deadline that's in concrete, is May 7th. I know that date was changing over the last few years, but the Real ID replaces a passport and license when traveling internationally. In-person registration at the DMV is required to obtain a Real ID, and anyone interested must schedule an appointment. There's also an option to schedule a remote registration service locally if there's interest for us to do so and offer that to the community. And that would be in place of people having to go to the DMV. So on to my reports. The Fletcher Lake Commission met last Thursday, March 13th. The commission held its reorganization at this meeting with Bradley Beach's Anthony DeMeo selected as chairperson, Linda Henderson as secretary, and Pam Reinhardt as treasurer, both of whom are from Ocean Grove. A larger sign prohibiting electric vehicles on the bridge that crosses Fletcher Lake is being installed this week. Thank you, Biagio. Our DPW will also coordinate signage with Neptune. The Bradley Beach DPW will also be staining the bridge to serve as a barrier to better protect the natural wood. They've chosen a light gray semi-transparent stain. Galaxy Geese has begun their services along Fletcher Lake. Please be advised that this is a humane solution to remediate the congregation of geese that plague these lakes. No geese are being harmed in this process. The DPW plans to replace the garbage cans along the Bradley side of Fletcher Lake. And finally, the next commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 10th at 6 p.m. Here in this chamber, and all are welcome. I will share the rec committee meeting and report, and there are a lot of events that I'm going to be sharing. So the rec committee met a week ago, Monday, March 10th. Radio Bingo was a great success with 125 tickets sold and about $1,300 in revenue, split evenly between recreation and the ladies auxiliary. Mahjong meets every Friday at the Biazzi Center from 1 to 3. Open Rec runs Thursdays until 6 p.m. and Fridays until 7 p.m. The Senior Club meets Wednesday, March 26th, 12:30 at the Biazzi Center. Family Karaoke Night is March 28th from between 6 and 8 p.m. at the Rec Center. Admission is free. Refreshments will be available for purchase. The Rec Department is hosting a student drop-off for those attending the PTA gift auction, March 30th. The drop-off runs from 2:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's $20 per child, which includes games, snacks, dinner, and a movie. Pre-registration is required. And here's an exciting lineup for April events. Pickleball runs from the 15th of April to May 6th, 10:30 a.m. The fee is $20 for the 4-week session. Space is still available on Tuesday mornings. Rec will also be offering evening lessons in May with 2 time slots. Details forthcoming. Bocce spring season is almost here. Details will be out in a few weeks. Student baseball softball clinic runs from April 14th to the 18th, 9 a.m. to noon. a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt runs on April 12th at 7:30 p.m. for students in grades 5 and up at the Rec Center Baseball Field, 49 Main Street. The first monthly bowling club will take place on Wednesday, April 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Bradley Bowl, 1217 Main Street. It's $12 per person and includes shoes and a 2-hour bowl. Rec is offering a student drop-off associated with this event if there's sufficient interest. And Summer Camp 2025 registration is open and running strong. The program runs for 7 weeks, June 30th to August 15th, Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 p.m. Camp is popular this year with already 80 students registered. And I believe it's been open for about a week and a half. Please go to the recreation homepage for details on all these events and to Community Pass for registration of rec events. The Recreation Board's next meeting is Monday, April 7th, 6:30 p.m. at the Rec Center. And my final report is for the Arts Council. The Arts Council is meeting this Friday, March 21st, to vote on membership. Following this vote, the selected candidates will be submitted to the mayor for approval and appointments to be official in April. Once the council is filled, they will reach out to the volunteers for program support. This includes those who have come forward with interest, as well as the pool of artists who make up the visual arts community. There's much work to be done once the Arts Council is established, with an art exhibit of town artists at Pash Real Estate scheduled for June 7th to the 14th in partnership with the Bradley Beach Alliance Visual Arts Community, the VAC. They also anticipate a performing arts event during the BBBCA's June Bradley Beach Days, June 7th through 8th. Partnering again with the VAC, the Arts Council will host a porch pop-up art exhibit of town artists at the James Bradley, confirmed for August 23rd, with a rain date of August 24th. This summer, they will also be hosting a mural project for the Rec Center. And that's my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Weber.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, I've heard a lot of reports. That was an amazing report, Councilwoman. Like, no, there was county news, then state news, news you could use, and then everything local. No, that was really, thank you for that. Prepare for less amazing. Matt, I did not know that you were leaving, so this was kind of a bummer, but I have to recognize, I just, sitting up here and watching the jaws drop in the audience when you gave your first report, speech, whatever, to the people of Bradley Beach. You changed the tone, obviously for the better, and people appreciated it, and you have helped us turn this ship in Bradley Beach. So you will be missed, but I definitely appreciate everything that you have done. And if you want to find that, I know where he eats dinner on Friday night. If you want to, I'll tell you about that later. No, someplace in Bradley Beach, which is smart. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I know that I celebrated, I'm not Irish, I married Irish, but I had a good time last night. On the Memorial Drive thing that Councilwoman DeNoble mentioned, I'm not sure you mentioned you can still comment on that till the end of the month, till the 31st.
Yes, that's true.
And so,
This is
yeah,
preliminary, yeah.
we'll try and get that out. I know I'm gonna be encouraging the Environmental Commission to comment, because they had a lot of concerns about walking, and it's all gonna be safer in a lot of ways, but I think it's a great expenditure of the county's money. How's that? I think that should be really good. So I will read the first aid report, but I'm gonna come clean and say, Councilman Nowicki was made the liaison to the fire and the first aid, but they kept sending me their reports, and it didn't even, I just kept reading them here, and he didn't say anything. And so I'm just gonna read this one, and then you're gonna hear from him from now on.
John, you do such a wonderful.
But I'll read them in your absence if you're ever not here. So for first aid squad, for the operational period ending today, the squad responded to 6-day calls and 9 night calls for 15 calls. 13 were for medical, 1 was for fire, and there was 1 out of town mutual aid request for a motor vehicle accident in Ocean Grove. The squad requested no mutual aid from other towns for this period, and they fulfilled 100% of their assignments for this operational period. As always, they're looking for volunteers for the first aid squad. There's training for qualified individuals. You can find the application on the town's website, and they are also accepting applications for their cadet program for young people 16 to 18 years of age who are interested in serving their community. I'm going to touch on a few other things that came up in our meeting tonight. Starting with affordable housing, I'm gonna characterize that what we talked about tonight and what Jennifer was here for and what we're all working for as a council, that's like capital A, capital H affordable housing, meaning that's the affordable housing that we get credit for and the state recognizes and, you know, all this other stuff. We still, you know, have some work to do, but that's how I'd characterize that. I wanna put out that there is lowercase a, lowercase h affordable housing in Bradley Beach, where there's less and less of it. But I think about that a lot, and I think about how we eliminate lowercase, you know, affordable housing. When when you take a small house, a nice little cute cottage, maybe it's 2 bedrooms, it's on a small lot, and you turn it into this giant big thing that, you know, crowds out the neighbors and needs 10 variances to fit on the lot and all that stuff. That's just going in the other direction. It's never gonna become affordable anymore. So, you know, yes, we need to do what we have to do for the state for capital A, capital H affordable housing, but there's that other, you know, it's just basically smaller, more modest housing, and if we keep it the way it is affordable housing, even if it's not officially in the kind that we're getting credit for. So I just want to mention that. Of course, we all got news about the cinema, the movie theater going away. I'm definitely sorry that is happening, but I am happy that we didn't spend a lot of your tax money on that theater. It was gonna be to the tune of 300, the plan was like $300,000 of our tax money going there, so that didn't happen. I'm still sad that the theater went away, but who knows what's next? We'll definitely keep you up to date. On the subject of fines, which we updated, there was a big long list of fines. It was kind of fun reading through those, but in there were, you know, sidewalks, not clearing your sidewalk. Maybe now we're gonna make it so, I think one of the reasons people didn't clear their sidewalks of snow, because they're like, it's cheaper to just pay the fine than to pay some kid to shovel your sidewalk. So maybe now that will change. But not just snow, sidewalks in general. Every kid in this town walks to school. There's no school buses. Don't block the sidewalk, you know, shovel your sidewalk, get your neighbor to make a plan if they don't live here year round. And when summer comes, don't stack your cars in your driveway if you're lucky enough to have a driveway, and block the sidewalk, because God forbid if somebody walks around, you know, to go in the street and gets hit by a car, I mean, ask yourself, who's getting sued? And then on the ADA, the Mobley mats and the handicap accessible showers that Mayor Gubitosi has driven forward, I just want to say that, you know, anything with handicapped accessibility, that is, quite frankly, it's DEI, it's diversity, it's equity, and it's inclusion. DEI includes people with disabilities. There's been a lot of talk about this in the news, but, you know, here in Bradley Beach, we want a diversity of different people with different abilities to be able to get onto our beach. We want them to do that equitably. We want to include all these people with different abilities to get onto our beach. And unfortunately, maybe we're all sitting out here thinking, well, we don't have disabilities, even though 1 in 10 Americans does have a disability. It may not be a physical disability that you can see out on the outside, but quite frankly, we're all just one accident or one illness away from being one of those people. So don't think it doesn't affect you. And you know, disability stuff is DEI stuff. So keep that in mind. I'm glad we moved in that direction. Thank you, Mayor, for that. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councilman. I'll keep my report fairly brief. For one, the library board has been conducting an RFP for historical restoration consultant. We'll be voting on hiring one of those people who provided proposals. And they've got a lot that they are gonna look at. One thing I keep pushing specifically are the beautiful bronze doors. There's still some questions as to can they be restored to functionality, but at least now they will have expertise guiding them, not only for the doors, but for other aspects of the building itself. And hopefully that expertise can guide them towards potentially grant funding. So that's all coming up. I believe it's on the 24th of this month is the library board meeting. Then I also just wanted to comment on Mr. Doherty. When I first met Matt Doherty, some people think maybe I've known Matt because he's been a mayor in Belmar for 8 years, 7 years, a council person for 6 or so years before that. I think I met Matt once and I was with John Weber coming out of a particular vote we we attended. Anyway, met Matt in a driveway, said hi, didn't really know him all that well, and then, when I was elected, he and I connected more for me to pick his brain as an ex-mayor. And the more I talked to him, you know, and we were sharing a little history. He explained that, he just kept telling me things, you know, you should do this, when you're mayor, look at this, and always go to this resource, never trust that resource, that kind of coaching that, you know, a rookie gets. I was a very old rookie, but you know, a rookie mayor gets. And one thing led to another, and I said, hey, you know, what are you doing with your life? Any interest in being a BA maybe? One thing leads to another, and in a relatively short period of time, we agreed to dive into the breach together, effective January 1 of this year. But I guess it's important for everyone to know that I really didn't know Mr. Doherty all that well. If you're gonna pick somebody to dive into a chasm and not quite know where you're gonna fall, he's a good one to have at your side. It's been chaos for a couple months. You know, people have a sense that we inherited a lot of interesting stuff. There's been a lot of organizational restructuring. There's been a lot of hiring of new people that Matt has led that charge. Clearly, we had to get the union contract resolved, Local 152. Revamping all these ordinances. I just want to go on record saying Matt was unflappable. I mean, no matter what came our way, we found ourselves laughing at a lot of the challenges, but laughing almost with defiance, like we'll get this done. It was good partnering with you, Matt, just to, you know, get through those really tough months. And the one thing that was particularly noteworthy for me was when we announced that Matt was leaving today, the employees, we gathered the department heads around, and the employees said, well, whoever replaces this guy, just make sure they communicate the way he did. So for all your strengths, I would say communication, Matt, was something that you brought to the table that the borough was sorely missing, and we'll just make sure that we use you as our role model going forward. So thank you. And that concludes my report. I'll open it up to the public. Comments? Paula.
Paula Gavin, I live at 106 Evergreen, and I'm here tonight to say a few things about the Bradley Beach Business and Community Alliance. I wanted just to reaffirm that we were created in 2019 as a part of the Bradley Beach Strategic Plan. We are volunteer driven essentially. We have since 2020, our first year of operation, had either a resolution with the borough or a memorandum of understanding with the borough. And you'll fulfill that to the board. We have consciously and deliberately partnered with the borough to fulfill our requirements and our obligations. Secondly, I want to say we have also fulfilled every requirement of the 501(c)(6). Our involvement in the Bradley Cinema included their membership in the Alliance, A, and B, their support of our movies in the park. We have been and we will continue to be a proponent of the Bradley Cinema. It is a part of our town we would love to see continue, but we have been advocates for the Bradley Cinema through their membership as well as their support, and that is it. We are very proud of our mission. We are proud of what we do for our residents, our businesses, and our nonprofits. We have a plan every year. We report on that plan. We report on our results. So I simply wanted to have for the public record our commitment to continue to fulfill our mission and to fulfill every requirement with the borough, as well as being a 501(c)(6) in good standing. So thank you for your support and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Paula, I can't tell you how many times since taking over this role for a couple months that I've been in meetings with folks throughout the state. And they talk about chambers of commerce in different towns, and as recently as a week ago, I met with the mayor of Belmar and Avon. And we were talking specifically about how we can link our businesses to state level funding, just to help our Main Street businesses. And no matter what meeting I'm in, somebody says how lucky Bradley is to have you and your organization. So Thank you very much for that.
We're committed to do the right things right. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, Mr. Curtis.
Curtis, 202 Third Avenue, Bradley Beach. We remain deeply concerned about Bradley Beach's role in resolving the New Jersey affordable housing crisis and how Bradley Beach will partnership with the larger issue that is going on. We need to recognize that affordability means creating housing for young families, seniors, and people who are on fixed incomes, whose incomes can be up to, for an individual, $72,000, and for a family of four, $130,000. Families who will send their children to our schools and teach our children, or join our police force, or extinguish our fires. These are the kind of people that we want to build housing for so that they can live in this community. Imagine we are now a community where your income needs to be more than $130,000 in order for you to be able to purchase a piece of property and live in this town. So we collectively refuse to provide, or we want to refuse to not provide our fair share of affordable housing as it's being requested of us. In January, the council passed a resolution that said they would accept the state's determination that Bradley Beach needed to rehabilitate 64 units of housing and add 30 new units of housing over the next 10 years to meet our affordable housing obligation. When we have voiced our concern, we are told not to worry. The council has a plan to meet the obligation. We're going to get the units. Now we learn that the borough planner has calculated our way out of this kind of obligation, determining that the borough's fair share might be even 0 units if they're applying some political adjustments. So I've asked to see these adjustments, and I hope we will learn more about these adjustments, since the planner tonight was clear that that has not been yet determined and is still up for negotiation. So the first question I will ask the council on behalf of us is, will the community have the opportunity not only to understand how you get to 0 units of obligation, but will you present that plan and let us critique it before you submit it to the state on June 30th? In 2016 and 17, you adopted a 3rd round plan. Some of you were sitting on the council who participated in that process. And you acknowledged at that time that Bradley Beach had an unmet need of 53 housing units. We asked what happened then to reduce our obligation to 0 units, which you did last year. I don't see any evidence that the borough has added any affordable units in more than 25 years. It's clear that Bradley Beach has been resisting building any affordable housing in our community. We have talked with local developers, and we have talked with many other people who have a very different narrative than what the city council wants to tell us about why affordable housing is not being built in this town. Bradley Beach, when we moved here in 1980s, had a balanced community. However, over the last several decades, we have become a very exclusive community in Monmouth County. And our exclusiveness is primarily determined by the rising cost of housing. And this is a direct result of government policy, local government policy, determining what can be built and what cannot be built in Bradley Beach. We have intentionally been unresponsive to the spirit of the law, which has sought to encourage suburban communities to build affordable housing so that we create equitable and balanced communities. Our participation in this effort has been negligible. Once again, then, I ask you to consider the spirit of the law. It appears we are doing everything possible to do as little as possible to meet our fair share. Frankly, we now calculate our fair share as potentially being 0, nada, no. I understand there is an ordinance in process to change our housing policies by creating a special zone in which a developer might be allowed to build a few affordable housing units. Why do we need to continue to do this kind of segregation? New Jersey communities are notorious for using laws and zoning regulations to create special districts where we divide us continually one from another. Now, I have engaged in a lot of conversations and study over the last few weeks about how communities respond to the need to build balanced and equitable communities. In fact, I listened this afternoon to the congressional hearing about the need for affordable housing in this United States and heard over again the kinds of things that Bradley Beach continues to do. We continue as a local government to inhibit the building of affordable housing by using laws and other practices to prevent it. Some of us are watching the council, how they will respond to the housing crisis that everyone recognizes is real. And we hope there is a will to both recognize the incredible wealth that has been built in this community over the last 2 decades and no longer resist building affordable housing, but engage creatively in ways that we can create more balanced and equitable community. Of course, land use is the big issue, but land can be used in very creative and unique ways.
Mr. Christian, we need to wrap it up.
Yeah, and I'll just say that I have a whole mess of questions that we want to know if we can have them answered publicly at something that is an opportunity. I'd be glad to share the questions with anybody. And I'll close with housing is a human right, and we have failed for more than 25 years to meet.
It's not fair to other people. We have people waiting.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Curtis. And for everyone's benefit, our plan is to be completely transparent. We invited the planner here tonight to speak, and we will, as we are provided additional information, we'll continue to share that with the public. And you also heard there will be public meetings with the land use board as well. Ms. Duffy? No?
Linda?
I called her, she said no.
I know, I was like.
Never mind. I just have a few questions, not about affordable housing, but I do know that a lot of people don't want it in their backyard. Oh, sorry, Linda Maslaga Duffy, 312 Blooming Avenue, Bradley Beach. A lot of people don't want affordable housing in their backyard. Needless to say, we can have gripes and disagreements about both of that, but that's not.
We're actually expanding the area, not decreasing it, but that's.
I'm just concerned about the demolition of 319 with the air. That was on the news the other day about the cement dust. I'm living across the street from 2 houses that just did their driveways with the cement blocks. Neither one of their contractors used a water spray. My porch, I cleaned twice and it's filthy again. Number one, and then number two. Oh, so all those fees that are being raised, fine, we're always behind the ball. We're stepping ahead with being up to date with things. There are a few contractor or code fees that are in there. Is that gonna go to tourism or is that gonna go into the fund? The housing fund? And how are we gonna split the fees from tourism and affordable housing? Just by the renovations, that's it?
So you're mixing a couple of different things. So affordable housing has its own
Correct.
fee structure, so we won't be splitting it. Everything that 1.5% residential and 2.5% commercial, that's gonna go into the affordable housing trust.
Ken, in the future, can you just provide me with the formula of how we fund tourism? I tried to read it and I couldn't figure it out. It seems like quite a bit of money goes into tourism.
Every time there's a CO, there's 2 fees. There's $50 to go to the borough and $75 to go to tourism.
But it's
just,
all the fees, all the permits.
no, it's just want a certificate of occupancy.
It's just, so where does all the permit fees go?
The $50?
No, the permits, you get a permit for your hot water heater, you get a
Oh,
permit for everything.
That's a whole different, that goes to construction.
That's part of our revenue for the
I just
current
wanna
fund.
make sure.
That's essentially covering the cost of having the inspector come out and do so it goes to that department.
But why are the fees all different?
A different magnitude of involvement, you know.
Like magnitude of involvement, he came over to do my hot water heater in the front house and the back house and couldn't figure it out.
Well,
I hope the new
mean,
one is better.
whatever.
I'm not complaining about it, I just wanna make sure that all these new people that are coming out. Are educated in it, because we didn't have that before.
Well, and that is the goal, and I'm sure we are not gonna hit 100% on that goal, but the concept is the same. We want very knowledgeable, educated people,
Correct.
you know, doing the inspections, but to partly answer your question, we're just always striving to have the best talent doing that work. But the fees themselves had not been
Oh, I
updated in
agree
20
with
years,
that.
so we had to bump the fees.
So another question on 319 Lorraine, who's gonna remove the things to sell? Like, the windows are in, you buy a window, who takes it
The
out?
purchaser.
The purchaser. Oh,
That'll be
so,
part of the contract of sale.
okay, and there was one, oh, the bamboo, are we gonna ever address the bamboo that's in town? I know it's on private property, but it's invading other people's property. Is
Yes.
that gonna be
We have
addressed?
an ordinance about it and.
I know,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been settled.
Okay, so the ordinance, it's not, unfortunately, I would like it to have been different, but the ordinance says. It's not illegal just to have bamboo there, but it becomes illegal once it's invaded your neighbor's property and they have complained about it. That's when people have to do it. So you might see bamboo here, because somebody complained about it and it's being dealt with, and then there's bamboo across the street. And nobody complained about it, so there's no mechanism for us to just send people out and say, hey, you
But
have
I think the
bamboo.
state's going to banning bamboo.
Well, that would be great. They should have done that 10 years ago, but.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you guys.
Yeah, and we're beefing
Matt,
up-
thank you very much for serving our town. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Enjoy your future somewhere.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Kepler.
Beth Kepler, 504 Central Avenue here in town. I'm gonna continue where I left off in what I was reading before, and you'll understand where I was going with it in relationship to the resolution for this evening. I'm gonna start with here. Residents have long worried about the blurred lines and shady record keeping going back to council meetings. I have shared clips recently on my YouTube channel from 2021 to 2024, all demonstrating residents and council members raising concerns over things such as shifts on BBBCA letterhead, shared services between the borough and the BBBCA, commingling of trust fund monies, sources of payments for events, violations of borough ordinances, not honoring tourism board decisions made by official vote and overriding tourism officials' authority completely, invoking special privileges for waivers of permit fees, overlapping roles of board members between the BBCA and borough government officials, creating conflicts of interest between the BBCA and our borough government. For these multiple aforementioned detailed reasons I just cited, I strongly suggest that the borough hold a workshop to publicly discuss severing ties with the BBCA and instead revive the Bradley Beach Borough Chamber of Commerce and Business Alliance completely under full borough oversight and control, with carefully hired qualified staff, transparent operations, and 100% accountability to this borough administration, just like our well-regulated and operated DPW or police department. Because here's the deeper truth. Patterns of gross mismanagement, fiscal chaos, and self-serving decisions strongly suggest an intent to undermine our borough's solvency. I implore everyone listening to my words to please watch a movie documentary that's available for free on YouTube. It's 1 hour. It's called All the Queen's Horses. It's a shocking 1 hour documentary about a small town bled dry by their trusted officials. It feels eerily familiar. Where was our federal COVID money spent? What was the $9,000 2023 federal FEMA payment really about? What did the 2023 and 2024 audits reveal? What came of the New Jersey Comptroller's August 2024 investigation demanding 23 financial documents spanning from the entire term of one mayor? Too many questions linger and are left unanswered. Our town and the residents deserve those answers. We must follow the money. We have an obligation to get to the bottom of what really happened, not just change course and move on because now we have a trustworthy administration. There must be accountability for what has happened over the past 12 years in this community. Therefore, I respectfully request that we bring back the Borough of Bradley Beach Chamber of Commerce and Business Alliance under the control of the borough, offering full transparency and accountability to the tax-paying residents. And I'd like to reiterate, in case it was lost on anyone the first time, there is an overlap between the BBBCA, the borough government, and its connection with the beach cinema, which residents lost tens of thousands of dollars. It wasn't just a failed operation. People in this town lost a lot of money. There was a resident cinema co-owner who sat on our land use board appointed by the mayor and was also a member of the BBDCA, alongside the council president, not Mr. Noble, a previous council president, a resident who served as an acting borough business administrator and the BBDCA board treasurer. And the previous mayor also was on this board. So there is a lot of not just commingling of money within funds, but an overlap of borough officials on a private board that whose books, the 501c6, is different than a 501c3. A 501c3, the books are not required in a 501c3 to be available and to be open to the public for review. But a 501c6 is a hybrid nonprofit whose records are not open to review. And so I just want to leave you with that, and I want to thank Mr. Doherty for stepping in at a really, chaotic time in our borough, and somebody else, our loss is going to be somebody else's gain, and I thank you for standing with our mayor and our council and helping us try to make sense of what we were left with.
Thank you.
And congratulations. No, that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Meta?
Against the mayor, Ocean Park condominiums. Matt? I knew you before you had gray hair. I knew you before you had 3 children. Thank you for all you did. I've been counting down the days with you, as you know. You have 13 left. I am giddy with the possibilities of what you can accomplish in 13 days. And if the event that you think your to-do list is done, I am more than happy to augment it. So we wanted the postmortems, and they should have included civilians, and they should have included P&Ls. That being said, I have a idea for you to ponder. So it was the Engelstad administration, if I remember correctly, and I know I do, that taxes down, they decided to bill for the beach utility and the sewer utility and something else in order to put services provided by DPW and police department, and whoever else, into the BA, into the current fund. So why can't that happen with tourism? They use 701 Main Street for their purchases or whatever you want to call it. They use DPW for their services, and they use the, I guess, the police department for whatever it is the police department does. Instead of going with events and saying, oh, it's gonna be this amount of dollars or this, okay, I think it would just sit. I don't know how the Engelstad administration figured out its formula, because I would probably challenge the fact that 25% of the BA's time is spent on the beach. But that being said, I would think that this governing body could do something that would be equitable with taking some of that tourism funding and moving it to the current fund. Just a suggestion. You never know what might stick. I don't know the rules. I don't know the ordinances. That's not my job.
I mean, to that point, we'd have to change the formula
Well-
allocation. We can't take it out of the tourism trust.
But the tourism money, I mean, that is money that shows up in the current fund, it's not. I mean,
Yeah, but it's, well, there's special events and there's tourism. The tourism, there's 2 accounts. And they specifically refer to the tourism trust.
Sure, but as opposed to, it's not part of the beach utility or another utility, like, it's a whole different fund. The beach, when you're talking about what previous administrations did, moving money from the beach utility to the sewer utility to help cover costs in the current fund, that's what, I mean, I remember being part of the council that didn't really like that. We had a lot of fights over that.
Seems to be the way we are now.
Okay, but the point is, it's a whole separate, like, you use the word fund, but it's not just like an account, it's like a whole fund that gets accounted for.
Good call.
I'm just saying to redirect the money. That's all, because also, you know, when we get this postmortem, feel better, sorry. There's a drink by my bed.
Oh, thanks.
There's, this is hard to do. There's just gotta be an easy way. And to come in here and do the presentation that we had. Of that $77,000, let's just say $70,000 balance. Does that include the salary? I mean, we go through this with the rec center, we have all these little things. They're utilizing services of the taxpayers that are not necessarily the taxpayers. And I'm just trying to simplify it and get more money for you guys to spend. That's all. Just a little suggestion. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. No other, Mr. Glenn?
Yeah, 217.
Let's look in the room.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. I have a couple questions for Councilman Nowicki, because you said something that really shocked me. The grading plan was one thing, and we've spoken about that. I've been pretty adamant about that, but you mentioned freehold soil. So was freehold soils, was there ever an application when this building was put out for demolition by the previous administration to even contact freehold soils?
Any project that has a certain square footage of
10,000
disturbance has to have a field conservation permit. I don't know if the permit was given as a responsibility of the contractor to submit. That would be an option, or whether or not, you know, in our case, what we want to do is expedite that permit and then provide that fee and have our engineers submit that prior to the demolition. So
And that was
so we
done
would expedite
as
it.
part of tonight's resolution.
That's in their proposal to do that, yeah.
Oh, great, thank you very much, and will it come back to the land use board and be done properly this time?
Yeah, I want to discuss that with the board and council on Thursday at the land use board. What is that process and what do we have to do in order to accomplish it?
Great, thank you very much for your follow-up on that, I really appreciate it. I just want to comment on the affordable housing, because, you know, apparently there's people that have been researching this the last few weeks. I've attended every meeting for 301 Main Street, their extension meetings. I've attended every meeting for 811 Main Street, their extension meetings, and at each meeting I said, where are the affordable units? And I was always told, oh, no, we don't have to supply them. The applicant's attorneys said we don't have to supply them. So apparently developers don't want to build, but I appreciate this council holding the feet to the fire. I have the emails from 2017 where I contacted the Fair Share Housing Center about 301 Main. I got nothing. So I don't know where these advocates just pop up now in round 4 when the Bradley Beach political machine of the last 12 years have done 0. So I want to compliment you as a council for actually making the trust fund work finally. And then also following up with round 4. And I look forward to the reasonable expectation for more affordable units in Bradley Beach with the overlay changes that will be made. But also for us to meet the 64 at the 20% set aside that was commented on previously by Ms. Bean, we would need 256 market rate units to get to that 20% set aside of 64. I don't know where we're putting them, because we are in the top 50 of 564 municipalities for density. So I can't figure out, unless we're gonna go 10-story high, which I don't think anyone wants. So I look forward to this process, and again, I want to thank you for bringing Ms. Beam in tonight. And Mr. Doherty, I want to thank you for your 90 days. You've done a fantastic job, but I'm just so puzzled how the puppet master has to come to the meeting tonight and find out about this. So I don't understand how that happened. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's turn to the Zoom, guys.
Mia.
Yeah, Mia Nolan. Hi, Mia.
Hi, hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
Terrific. I wanted to thank, I hope Biagio is still in the room there, but it was just amazing. I left the meeting 2 weeks ago and I drove down Madison Avenue because I was like, gosh, I hope I didn't make up what I just said during the meeting as far as the three-way stop sign and the confusion with the way the signs were labeled. But I saw them and I kept looking. I'm like, maybe it's because it's dark. The next day or within 2 days, because I go to the gym at least every other day, I drove down and I noticed the change had happened already, where I could tell they tore whatever was down that caused the confusion. There was nothing there that showed whether it was three-way, two-way, or four-way, but within a week, or maybe 7 or 10 days, it now shows three-way signs. So when you're driving down Madison Avenue, you know what all the stop signs are at each of the corners. So I was just very impressed by that. So thank you very much. It was like instantaneous. I did not expect that at all. And I was shocked to see that, not shocked because our DPW is terrific, but it was just amazing to see that just by attending a meeting that a change happened so quickly. So thank you so much. I don't know, is he still in the room there?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate being heard.
And if I may, Mayor, I just want to say thank you to Mia, like you just said, thank you for letting us know. The residents are eyes and ears, and I get a lot of input from different people, even through Facebook, and we respond to it. So it's our pleasure. We serve the residents, and thank you again for bringing it to G's attention and everybody else's. We appreciate that.
The sign behind you, Jane.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. So thank you so much to everybody. And we're gonna miss you, Matt. Sorry you couldn't stay with us.
Thank you. Is there another hand?
Yes,
up?
Don Greenberg.
Mr. Greenberg.
Hey guys, how you doing? Don Greenberg, 302 Park Place Avenue. I had a question. Recently, in the newspapers, you've been seeing a lot of towns, probably the closest one to us, Monmouth Beach, passing construction dust ordinances. And I was wondering if that's on the plate of the council for us to do that. Last year, when a neighbor of mine was having their house built, I remember seeing the workers out there sitting right on the sidewalk cutting AZEK, which, if any of you know what that is, it's made of PVC, which is basically plastic, with clouds of white dust washing into the sewers, microplastics all over the place. Maybe that's what's making Jane cough. But so I guess my point is, are we going to be talking to Monmouth Beach, some of the other towns that are passing these ordinances, and passing one of our own, which would positively affect the environment of our town and the health of our residents?
And Don, I'll be happy to fill in the council on all the details of such ordinances, since I am familiar with them. But to answer your question, that hasn't happened yet, but how about I have a conversation with them all?
Cool. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we will move on to executive session, item 15, and there is none. And therefore, we are ready to adjourn. So meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Second.
Thank you.
Favor aye.
Aye.
Yeah.